Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
I came here to spit on my father's face. I can't say it was a podcast.
What's the line?
I can't say it was a metaphor. The quotes are bad for this.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a quote in French so I could say
it in French.
And then say podcast and no one would even know what I was saying.
Podcast.
Podcast.
Un cast de
That
pod.
sounded Italian. I'm sorry. Hi, everybody.
What do they say? Is that the word? Do they say podcast?
I'll look it up. My name's Griffin Newman. I have a French mother who stopped listening at this point.
My name's David Sims. I lived in France.
Okay, stop it. We're hashtag the two friends, as you can tell by how well we're getting along right now.
Yeah, wow.
It's a podcast called Blank Check, on which
Blank
we talk about
check,
Blank Check.
Let's see. Blank
Le
check
check
in French.
blanc.
Blanc.
Le Check Blanc.
Check en blanc.
Check en blanc.
I guess, yeah. Because I think of blanc as meaning white, but
Right.
I guess
This
it has
is
a double
this is
meaning.
the first French language film we have covered on the podcast.
Yeah, right? No?
What else would there be?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, Attack the Clones.
That was translated into French and then back into English.
I'll tell you this much: it wasn't in English.
Oh, boy.
What, Dexter Jetster? That isn't a dictionary I ever read.
You guys didn't do a Valerian spinoff, did you?
I'd
Not
love
that
to
that
do
counts.
Valerian.
I
I'd love
mean-
it.
It's a French movie, but it's
Yeah.
in English
But
language.
if
Yeah.
we did Luc Besson, which we've sort of vaguely discussed over the years
We've
as
discussed
a
it.
potential, like he has French movies, obviously.
He has
that
French
we would
films. He has full stop French films.
do. Nikita.
Subway.
Subway.
Angela.
Which is about his quest to get a $5 footlong.
Yep.
Subway.
Lucy.
Lucy. She is a hard drive.
The lady, she is a computer.
She turns into a USB. Morgan Freeman. Let's just do this all day.
This is our episode where we just do Luc Besson pitches.
Lucy too. She becomes a cloud computer. I don't know. Okay. Sorry.
Didn't he? He was threatening to make a Lucy
Beaucoup
too.
de drugs in the stomach.
Sure. I mean, Lucy was such a hit. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Huge hit, but I just kept on going like,
Yeah,
dude, have
happens?
you seen the end of your own movie? She becomes the internet. Spoiler. At the end of Lucy, she becomes
Lucy
the internet.
turns into a USB.
But she resets existence, doesn't
I guess
she?
so.
Doesn't
that
she
movie
reboot?
rules.
That
Who
movie
gives a
rules.
shit. I love
yeah,
that movie.
I couldn't explain it, but
That movie
pro
rules.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Pro It. Who are you? The executives at New Line? It's made a lot of money. It was a very profitable film.
Are you going to be in it too yet? Is that official?
Yes, it's going to be me and 65-year-old actors. Do you know about this thing, Emily?
No.
I've been fan casted, and it's been circulated a lot to play one of the grown-up
Oh,
versions
right,
of one of the It kids.
Yeah.
And It, too, it's supposed to be 28 years later,
Yeah.
and I am 29, period. So they're proposing a cast where it's like Christian Bale, Jessica Chastain, someone who's under 30, which apparently I got some city miles on me.
Yeah.
Apparently, teenagers are doing this list because they do not understand how aging
That
works.
is exactly what it is. It's
That's
a list
true.
that's being perpetuated by teenagers. Thank you to all my teen blankies. This podcast about filmographies.
Yeah, Emily didn't like that, and I agree.
Wait, I can't say. I'm not saying they're
Teen blankies.
blanky juniors.
Yeah.
What do we call them? I don't know.
I don't know.
Little blankies?
JV Blankies.
JV
Yeah,
blankies.
JV blankies,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
A podcast about filmographies. Directors of mass success early on in their career and give a series of blank checks. Sometimes they clear and sometimes they bounce. Bebe.
Sometimes they bonus episode.
Yes, we're bouncing a bonus. We're a bit
Bouncing into a bonus.
beautiful bouncing babe.
Yep.
All four of us have owned up to being in a weird headspace today, right?
Sure. The subway was bad. Emily took the wrong train twice or
But
something.
didn't you also?
No, I just got to Fulton Street and a 2 train arrived instead of a 5, on the wrong platform because there's debris and
Yeah.
then the subways were really slow. It was just bad.
Oh.
Just bad
I
subways.
legitimately got on the wrong train and then took it to Fulton Street in Brooklyn before I realized
Sure,
my
cool.
mistake and then turned around and then missed my stop again. So,
Our guest
great.
today is, of course, the mother of blankies.
That's right. Oh,
Hello, my
she's talking.
children.
Yes.
hello.
Yeah. No,
Are you the mother of?
Hello, my little baby.
Oh boy.
that's why you got so offended by the naming, because you're the one who gets to name the blankies.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I will not let anybody dishonor my blankies with a name that they are not. It's not consensual.
Host of a new podcast
Not consensual. Yes,
C'est vrai.
here in the Audio Boom Network.
that's right.
Yes.
Sister pod.
And
Sister, cousin,
yes.
cousine.
I think it's a sister pod. I would
So.
imagine. Yeah.
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 So.
I've got a new podcast with Molly Lambert and Tess Lynch.
Mhm.
It's called Night Call. It is on the Audio Boom Network.
And
Bring.
is it self-produced? How do you
We just talk into cans and
Yeah.
you
And
know
no one's-
hope
no one's
somebody
sort of
clicks through for it.
working the board? There's no one
no,
watching
we-
the monitor?
We have one.
He's making a little. What do you call those things? The little. Doot, 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 doot.
Origami, David.
Okay, fine.
This is such a loopy pod already.
What do
It's
you-
amazing.
what do you call
a
the little-
fortune teller?
Well, yeah, that's right. Isn't there
Or
some
like
other
a
word for
cootie
it?
catcher.
Cootie
But that's
catcher.
such
That's
a
such a teenage, right?
Yeah.
no.
I mean-
But anyway, Ben Hosley, producer Ben. I can't do it all. I'm not
do
gonna
it.
do it.
I believe in you.
Do it.
Ben Sate,
Sure.
the poet laureate,
Great.
the fuckmaster.
He's done it. That's it. Those are the four.
Those are all of them. Is that the new? That's the new canon.
That's
We
the
can
new
start
canon.
from there.
Yeah, that'd be great,
Oh my
actually.
God.
All right.
Yeah.
That the one he retains, the one specific is Ben Say.
The only one.
The reference to the canceled Netflix show.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the funniest.
It
Well,
is quite funny.
Ailey Benz with the dollar sign is also a really
Yeah.
good one.
It's funny
It's
because
like-
you have to explain it.
Yeah.
It's like a hat and a hat and a hat.
Yeah, right.
But yes, our podcast is being produced by Ben, producer Ben, and we're really excited. It is. We have only done a test episode so far. Which,
But we're recording this a while in advance. By the time
Yes,
this comes out, you'll be
we'll be.
top
We'll
of the
be.
charts.
Yeah, we'll be running and gunning and doing ads for tampons and the whole
Oh,
night.
yeah. Tampon ads. Why don't we do some tampon ads, Ben?
I'd
Get on
love
that.
to.
I don't sell
I'm aware,
ads or
I'm
do
aware.
anything about that.
But I thought it'd be funny if I said that.
Okay, yeah, I'll get you some tampon ads. Sure, no problem, David.
I gave some tampon coupons if you want. I'm clipping from the.
Why? Why?
Oh my God,
Better
the
safe
energy
than
is
sorry.
super weird.
Better safe than sorry.
I don't know what that means.
Like getting
Better
shot?
safe than sorry.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. You better safe than sorry.
Never know.
I was trying to remember if chapeau is feminine or masculine, so I could say un chapeau and un chapeau, but
I think
I think it's male. Yeah.
chapeau.
Un chapeau.
Chapeau.
I bet we all, between the three of us, we all speak like one French person's.
Yeah, we could have
Amount
a
of
conversation.
I
right.
think we could.
If we like linked our brains into
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So therefore, we are totally qualified to make all these goofy French accents.
Yes,
Exactly.
So, dear friend of the show, I
Emily?
think
Yes.
there's some accounting disputes over how many episodes you've been on because the Titanic was split into two.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Oh, that was one.
But
that was one sit down.
I
That
want
was
to
one
sit down.
trip
So
to the-
you're saying Podcast Reawakens.
Right, which was
Speed Racer.
the bridge episode before we rebranded as Blank Check, in which you came up with the term and really
True.
kind of cast the die for
I
the
think.
future.
Had you guys even decided on the name Blank
We
Check
were
yet?
sort of thinking about it.
We were,
Yeah.
because people wanted us to keep calling ourselves Griffin and David Present.
People were dug in on that name.
The Present heads were angry.
No, so yeah, you were on the Speed Racer, you're on Titanic, you were on Strange Days, so this would mark the fifth.
This
right?
is officially Five Timers Club.
So you get the
Here's your
jacket.
bathrobe. Here's your jacket.
Right, exactly.
I need one.
But you're a big Paul Verhoeven fan.
I am.
And we were trying to find a place to put you in, and you almost did Hollow Man, but you weren't that passionate about it.
Well, I've never seen Hollow Man. I mean, I
Hollow
would have
Man?
to, Hollow Man.
The least passionate you could possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, and not intentional. It's just
Sure.
I never got around to it. But
You-
I'm a big fan of especially the Hollywood stretch of movies.
Sure.
I've not seen all of his
Sure.
English language films.
And then we decided.
Did we announce that this is Podship Casters, the Paul
Patrick
Verhoeven
Cassis,
miniseries?
It is.
Paul Verhoeven in Hollywood, but this is our bonus episode,
Right,
in which we're doing one non-Hollywood film.
right. His most recent film.
Right.
Although I'm hearing the Nun movie is going to be at Cannes.
Oh my God! There were huge buildings high ads for the Nun movie
What's
at
it called
Cannes
again?
this last year. And I was thinking, oh my God, are they doing like screens of this, right? Like
Yeah.
early screenings? Is there a reason that this is getting a promo push this early? And I didn't hear about
Blessed
anything.
Virgin, right? That's what it's called.
A new pair.
And it's got like the
Yeah.
crucifix in between the cleavage and everything.
Oh, right.
Like,
It's the best fucking poster of all time.
God, what a wild, wacky guy.
It's just like way to take the goodwill that everybody has for you after Elle, which most
Right.
people would have for him, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely at a respectability high right now after
For
that,
sure.
after this film.
It's funny to think, right, that and he wanted to make. We'll talk about it, but he wanted to make this in Hollywood,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. But then he makes it a French movie, and everyone's like, "Oh,
That's the fascinating thing is like this is a Paul Verhoeven
Have a César.
movie, right? It's a Paul Verhoeven movie through and through, but it somehow got away with this like air of class to it.
Sure.
People were like, but
Totally.
this is him doing a serious movie, and it's like it's a legitimate piece of art, like all of his films are, but it's also totally fucking insane.
Yeah.
And it's like a satire of French erotic thrillers in the same way I would argue that his American films are satires of,
American erotic thriller."
yes,
Yeah.
or American action films or sci-fi films.
Sure,
The score in this movie is the giveaway of that, I would argue, almost more than anything else. The score is the thing where you're like, what am I watching right
Yeah.
Anne Dudley, who did the score for Black Book as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's a collaborator. Apart from that, yeah, she doesn't work a lot.
now?
Pushing Tin.
But it's a very kind of like
she won an
lurid-
Oscar for The Full Monty.
Okay. Oh, what back
For
when they
comedy
had
score. Back when
missed
they
that
split the
category.
score categories.
those 2 years.
Oh,
We were
Yeah,
flying
they
high.
used to have 10 score nominees in comedy
that's
and drama.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's how like Men in Black got a score nomination and
Right.
stuff. Yeah,
Big Pig in the City got a score nomination. I
damn
think.
right.
Yeah. I missed that.
And a Pulitzer Prize. Yes, sure.
I
Why
love
not?
it.
Bring it back.
I love a good funny score.
Yeah.
I love to put on a.
Well, would this be an original comedy score or not?
That's the question. She won Best Actress Drama
She did.
at the Globes,
She did.
right?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think the Globes are about to go handing her this for a comedy, like
Well,
calling it a comedy.
that's the thing with the movie is you kind of like you go like, am I allowed to say this is a comedy?
Yeah.
Because it's like dealing with very serious stuff, and you run the risk of
It's
looking.
also tense.
It's also
It's
like
intense.
it's a kind of
It's a
one of the
suspense
scariest
film.
movies I saw that
100%.
It was an
year.
incredibly frightening experience watching
Yeah.
it in a theater.
Yeah.
Like now, once on the rewatch, you're
Yes.
more prepared for but like in the theater, almost every scene I was like, is someone about to like
Somebody's
burst
gonna
it?
like, don't show me an open window right now. I
Exactly.
don't want to see anything through a window. I don't want to see her driving down the road and like another car coming for her. I don't want
Right.
to see any of that.
And it's not even cheap about it.
No.
It's
No,
just,
no.
It's not like he like loads it up with jump scares, but it's
No,
just
like,
after that first scene.
after the first
Yeah.
scene. Yeah.
Right.
But it's also that's the Verhoeven thing. It's like he's making a full meal symphonic movie where every emotion is like functioning as high as it can.
Mhm.
That's the Verhoeven thing. He's putting all these different ingredients in the pot, right?
Oh.
Cinematically, he's brewing up like a short rib burger with a hot beef cheddar sauce
Okay.
on a pretzel bun.
I mean, that sounds like a nice ensemble of flavors.
Right, that's what he's doing. He's in the symphonic way. He's making us a seared steak with thyme pan sauce and mashed potatoes, green beans, crispy shallots.
Wait,
you know?
I just made that meal.
But how's that possible? I mean, you only have, I don't know, 45 free minutes per night, and you are legally not allowed to go to the grocery store. How could you possibly make that meal?
It's not about legally not allowed. I'm just a tie boy when I get home. Let me tell
Well,
you.
I was trying to help you out a little bit, make
No.
it seem like it was.
I like it when the food just arrives in a box and then I can just prepare it.
Well, why are you even talking about that? We don't live in a sci-fi fantasy where that's an option, David.
Okay, well, I'm going to break some news to you, I guess. There's this company called Blue Apron.
What?
And they're friends of the show.
What?
And they're sponsors. And they want to let you know that they can provide exactly the service you're talking about.
Sounds
They've
like-
been doing it for me.
Sounds like a friend with some benefits.
Benefits are tasty meals
What?
and convenience.
Okay, but listen, if I'm gonna work with a company, okay?
Sure.
I want them to be the #1 fresh ingredient recipe delivery service in that country.
You're in luck. They are. They offer 12 new recipes a week. You can pick 2, 3, or 4. Have them delivered right to your door. You pull them out of the box and put them in the fridge or wherever they need to go. And then when you're ready for dinner, they got a little card, and you just cook it up.
So you cook it up and then you just
It's
throw it out.
literally
It's
become-
inedible, right? It's inedible. The stuff's inedible.
It's actually delicious.
What?
And it's literally become like a cornerstone of my life since they started sponsoring the show.
I had to start doing it.
The amount of conversations I have with the person I live with about Blue Apron.
Who do you
and
live with?
My girlfriend.
Humble brag.
Yeah. Well, Blue Apron's a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
I've been using it to cook. I feel like you also sometimes, struggle to cook yourself a meal.
I'm largely a top ramen guy, and my sister is obviously a very accomplished chef. Ramen
Sure.
Newman, longtime sister, past and future guest.
Yeah, right.
And I've decided Blue Apron's going to allow me to try to make her proud.
Right. You can actually learn to cook a meal.
Right,
It's good ingredients, but the instructions are simple. Everything's packaged for you in the right way.
For once, I won't look like a child to her.
And also, they send only non-GMO ingredients. The meat has no hormones.
Yeah.
All that. It's all that good stuff.
Because my
This
motto.
stuff's put together by professional. chefs.
My motto.
Yeah.
GMO GTFO.
All right. Well, Blue Apron is treating Blank Check listeners to $30 off their first order
Kind of them.
if they visit blueapron.com/check.
Okay, so I just check that I typed in blueapron.com.
No, what I want you to do is check out this week's menu and get your $30 off at blueapron.com/check.
Okay, so once again, you said all I have to do is check out the website, which is blueapron.com.
What I'm saying is that the promo code is check and that Blue Apron is a better way to cook.
We have to type that in. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Fair enough. I mean, it sounds like I'm en route to become the Paul Verhoeven of home cooking.
Elle.
The movie is Elle. We're doing a bonus.
After high demand.
High demand.
Crazed demand.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that the people who are as stoked about. I mean, I guess
It's
if
a
you
recent film, obviously.
Yeah, and it's one that obviously had a lot of people talking. There's a lot of discussion.
It's a real conversation movie.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons we were reticent to do it. Also reticent because we are a bunch of boys. Also reticent because we were we got to delineate somehow.
Well, right. It's not a
We're not going to
Hollywood
do Black
movie.
Book. We're not going to do the early Dutch ones because they're hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
But it just felt like, I don't know. It felt like we were leaving something on the table if we didn't talk about it somehow because it does reflect the current state of the Verhoeven.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I'm glad to be the woman on the scene that allows you to just shoot the shit about rape.
Yeah. We've been begging for someone to give us the permission.
I'm so stressed out.
That's the thing. I don't want to do this. I love this movie, but I feel like I can only talk about it like speakeasies. You know?
Well, so here, I don't know if you guys want to get into the actual plot or run through it like that, but I will say that my experience of this movie, if it makes you feel any better,
please,
is that I saw it at Toronto. And I saw it I remember the screen was very large. It was whatever the biggest screen
Did
is.
you see it in the IMAX?
Yeah, the IMAX screen at the Scotiabank.
At the Scotiabank.
Yeah,
It is crazy when they put a movie in that theater just because it's
quite large.
It's very large.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is great.
And it had already been at Cannes, right?
It had already been at Cannes. It was one of these ones that I was playing catch up with that and Handmaiden. I mean, that time I was at Toronto was great because I saw a lot of my favorite movies, but they were all ones that had been at Cannes already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw it. I, spent the rest of the day just being what was that? Just grappling with it. I feel like I had about 4 conversations. I think most of them with women and female critics about the movie, just trying to figure out how I felt. Because I had an instinct that I really liked it, but I felt like I was wrong to like it.
I remember there was at Toronto, especially a lot of conversation around that I was hearing from female critics of oh my God, we cannot support a movie like this.
There was a lot of condemnation coming down the Twitter pipes at the time. And so I felt a little bit am I weird or wrong to feel like this was really, really smart?
Sure.
And I think
but also you're a Verhoeven fan too, right? You have that in mind.
Yeah,
you were able to view it through the lens of getting.
Yes, and I think that is so important. I think that there are so many of his films, and this is not a. I think in some ways this is a detriment because you shouldn't have to have people really know you as a filmmaker in order to really appreciate your films. I don't think that this is not necessarily a great thing, but. People who don't know about his background and his relationship to living under the Nazi regime and everything like that. If you don't know that, you can watch, Basic Instinct or whatever and just enjoy it as a lurid thriller. But you're not maybe going to get, you're not going to be attuned to maybe another channel that's on at the same time. So, but anyway, I was feeling like I liked it, and but I had a lot of conversations with people that were kind of trying to convince me that I shouldn't like it. And then ultimately, when I had to write it up for Spin, I was like, this movie is brilliant, and I DC.
Well, I feel like a major like crux of the argument for and against this movie is like, dude is inarguably a provocateur.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's like openly trying to get a rise out of his audience.
And provocateur.
Right. And some people resent that and go like, he's just going shock for shock's sake.
Sure. Right.
Or, and I think it helps if you are a fan of his work, if you understand his brain, his life experience, his other films, you know how to kind of read Verhoeven to understand what he's trying to get at by provoking you in that way and playing with your emotions. And your fears and your anxieties and your discomfort in that way.
And your expectations of how movies are supposed to work, too.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think there is just also the specific subgenre of a movie about someone like embarking on a consensual relationship with a rapist, right? Like with their rapist. In any like that's always just been like the hottest hot button there could possibly be in any movie that depicts rape, right?
Yeah.
So people are especially on eggshells once whatever the plot of Elle is sort of revealed.
Well, I feel like this
even though I mean like that's a simplification of what's happening in the movie.
Sure,
but
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think that aspect of it takes on a new kind of interesting life after the past few months because there are so many, now we know there are so many examples of like, you might have to maybe not be best friends with the person who assaulted you, but keep continuing to live with them and like try to just get what you can out of that situation without, destroying yourself. And that I feel like that shade of gray, that kind of murky area is something that people I think are a lot more willing to acknowledge now than they were even, a year ago.
I kind of feel like if this movie came out this year, she would win Best Actress.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's possible.
I think there's a greater cultural context.
I guess
for this
she
film
came second
now.
last year to Emma Stone.
I know, which is
ridiculous.
Nuts, which is absolutely nuts.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But I do, and I'm walking on eggshells here. But the precise thing that I find really fascinating about this movie, and actually kind of progressive in its own transgressive way, is that we've been reading all these stories for the last couple of months where the like assholes who want to throw doubt and question onto the accounts of these survivors say like, but then why do you still work for him? Well, you were in a relationship, so if it was consensual those other times, then why was this one time not consensual?
Yeah.
And this movie, I think, as a character study, is a really fascinating exploration of all of these sort of like emotional and psychological wins that change when something this traumatic happens in your life. Because she doesn't follow any sort of predictable emotional arc.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of feeling fine with it one scene, being upset the next scene, being angry and vengeful the following scene, being attracted to him the scene after that, and then it going again in the reverse order, you know? Like, it really kind of shows how disruptive these kinds of events are to any sort of logical course of action.
I saw this film later at the Alamo Draft House. Perfect place to see a movie. Like, this is top 5
Enjoy
to
your
me
nachos.
like worst movies to see that I have seen at a theater that serves food.
So you had a barbecue chicken flatbread.
I'm eating my chicken Caesar salad and watching Elle. And in like an empty theater, so someone's just standing there watching you, the waiter.
God.
As I'm like,
that's the worst.
Okay.
Do you want a refill, sir? In the middle of just the most intense scene.
I wonder when they drop the check. And I remember I was somewhat put off by the movie, and I just sort of walked out of that being like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? Then I want to shout out, I remember listening to this podcast called, I think it was called Long Takes, which Screen Crush used to put out with Britt Hayes and Oliver Whitney that sadly got discontinued for reasons I do not know. And their first episode was about Elle, and I listened to it and I was like, whatever. They were sort of saying like, oh, this is a movie about like how frightening her reaction to all the events in this movie are to the men around her, and and confusing, and the power of what she's doing in the movie is that's the central question, not the power of the power of the men around her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, whatever, and I hadn't watched Elle again until now, and then I put it on and I'll admit I like laughed a lot and
Yeah.
was like kind of delighted by the movie.
Yeah.
I saw it with my French mother at the Paris
Great,
in New York.
great,
It was
great for the Paris
yeah.
showing Elle. Good for
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
Sorry, so what were you going to say,
Wait,
Emily?
where's the Paris?
It's by the Plaza Hotel. It's near. It's like the only.
It's the
I'm not
last
allowed
screen.
up there. So.
Oh, okay.
It's the
Humble
last
brag.
remaining like big one screen
Yeah.
theater in New York City.
Oh, okay.
like you could still host a premiere there. Maybe it's not that big.
Oh, I thought that all that closed.
I've been to premieres there, but
Yeah.
smaller
It's smaller.
premieres.
It always is showing what you think it would be showing. So right now it's showing Call Me by Your Name.
It's
It's always
almost-
showing the most
Yeah.
sort of old school European film that's going to appeal to a slightly older audience.
It is almost exclusively Sony Pictures Classics.
Yes, like Sony Pictures Classics just owns that
Right.
spot.
Huh.
But like
Okay.
Victoria and Abdul will do like a fucking sellout
Oh,
3-month
yeah.
run.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
It's like Showtime at the Apollo.
and
if
it's
you go there and
huge.
see
It's got like a balcony. It's a huge screen, and they just play these old people movies.
I mean, and like sometimes that is a movie like Call Me by Your Name, which,
Right.
like, to be fair, is
Right.
like, you know, not just
Yeah.
an old people movie.
or
It is
Elle.
still a
Like
James,
sometimes there's
right.
still edgy
But
films,
it
but
is
it's
a James Ivory
Right,
joint.
exactly.
You know?
Right. Or it has to be an au pair vehicle or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, it has to have some air of that kind of thing to it. And my mom knows that I'm like a Verhoeven obsessive.
Sure.
Mhm.
I got her to appreciate RoboCop, you know, even though she was initially turned off by the sort of like crass
The
maximalism
fact
of it.
that it's called RoboCop.
Right. She was 100% against the idea that it was called RoboCop. And I don't think she's seen any of his other films.
She hasn't seen Basic Instinct. That's
Maybe she saw Basic Instinct at the time. Maybe.
There's no way my mom has seen Basic Instinct.
There's no way my mom has seen
Pretty
Basic
She
Instinct.
might have seen it.
I don't think my mother has ever seen a Paul Verhoeven movie.
I think if my mom saw Basic Instinct, she totally dismissed it.
Mm.
I know she doesn't like Sharon Stone.
Fair enough.
But so I was
Rude.
sitting there and like,
IMO.
right, in a screening with like a bunch of old people, right?
At the Paris, right?
At the
Yes,
Paris.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like a pretty stuffy, like not like a hip screening. And I was
There
sitting
had
there
to
the
be
whole
walkouts.
time being like, am I insane for thinking this is funny?
Right.
Am I like bringing too much into it because of the Verhoeven? When the movie ended, I was just like, what did you think?
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to hear my mom talk about it for 15 minutes, and she fucking loves it. She like totally loves it. And she's very interested. She's a big fan of the type of movie this film is in dialogue with.
Right. Okay.
She's very into sort of erotically charged French dramas.
okay.
Sure.
And is a big Huppert fan.
Because if you lift the rape plot out of this movie, it's still about a fancy business lady who's having an affair with her best friend's husband, and then also the son's a fuck up, and it's like
yeah.
it feels like a French movie through
Yeah.
and through, like all of her little like rotating universes.
Yeah.
And she also said like that I can't get over how French that movie is. She was like that movie gets the dynamics of like a certain type of upper class Parisian
Right. Yes.
better than
Yeah.
I've seen in any
She's in
French
the
movie
fancy
the last 10 years.
apartment. The guy
Right.
jerks off into a garbage can. Like
all that shit. But
she's
just
rolling
like,
around
yeah.
in bed with her best friend, and they're like, to be lesbians. Hilarious.
But she was just like, you know, how they speak, what they order at the restaurants,
Sure,
where
right,
they dress, like
yeah,
all of it is so
That they
spot
have
on.
like Piper Heidsieck for their like casual Friday friend dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's
The other thing that feels just so Verhoeven-y is the video game company.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So that's the biggest thing to talk about.
yeah.
And when you were saying like the hint, like the score is a hint of what he's sort of like
Yeah.
getting at in the movie. All the video game shit's another hint.
Yeah.
Because she's essentially playing Verhoeven. Like she's playing like a French female Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like, well, for one, isn't that game like really bad looking for right now?
Terrible. It
Looks
right
terrible.
Yeah.
The game makes no fucking sense.
No,
What is the
besides,
game?
Besides the monster tentacle rape stuff
Right.
and everything.
Right.
But like it just looks like the graphics are
It looks like a
piece of
PS2 game.
It's
Yeah,
junky,
yeah.
and also it's like they're jumping around some platforms. I was just
Yeah.
like, what is the like object of this game? Like when
Right.
the annoying guy stands up and he's like, this isn't fun to play. I was
Right.
like, it doesn't look that fun.
What's
to
the
play.
target audience of this game?
Well, I think the thing, like, between the score and the video games, and, like, this is one of these things that's, like, I guess if you're not paying attention, this would seem really, really tacky, is, like, having the dramatic, like, sting of the score come in, like, when she is actually getting raped. like at that moment of the attack, and it being like this like duh type thing, which is also how the video game treats the violation of this like female character, this mannequin or whatever. It's just like, this is the worst, most shocking thing that could happen. Like, and it feels like it's a little bit of a feint or something.
Yeah. There's a secret sauce, I believe, in this movie working as well as it does, is he has said that he did not direct her at all.
Direct Isabelle.
And he didn't talk to her about the character at all. He read the script. He said, the person who can pull this off is Isabelle Huppert. And he went to her and he said, look, if I get you, this movie works. And I'm just going to fully trust you with this character. And he was very involved with everything else, but he gave her a lot of authorship over the movie. He said he like never directed her, never questioned her, never even spoke to her about how she was internalizing the character. And that just gave her the chance to fully own that, a lot of the narrative, you know?
Can I to give you some context? Like further context?
I'm a
because I do enjoy this.
I'm a connoisseur.
Oh, are you going to say the name of the book that it's?
Which I believe it is a French book, is it not?
It is, yeah.
So it's funny
It
to me
hasn't been
because
translated.
right. So so I don't know, to what extent this like hews to the book. I don't know how close it is, but he announces this movie at the Cannes Film Festival, much as he does with his Nun movie, as you were just saying. And he wants Nicole Kidman for the role. That's his opening gambit. She doesn't want it. He also considered, according to this, Charlize Theron, Julianne Moore, Sharon Stone, Marion Cotillard, Diane Lane, Carice Van Houten. None of them want it.
And none of them would have worked.
Maybe
I would argue. I pretty much love all of those actresses.
Nicole Kidman might have worked.
She might have been good.
She's the closest.
Yeah.
I still think if you're setting it in France, it has to be a French person.
Well, no, but it wasn't going to be set in France. It was going to be set in Chicago.
Dumb. That's my take on that, is dumb.
Then he said, who would be perfect is Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is his old collaborator from Flesh and Blood.
Who would be very good.
But he also admitted basically like, I'm not going to get any money to make a movie with Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's just the sad reality of the thing. So then he decides, all right, I'm going to make it in France. And then now he starts talking shit where he's like, if I'd done it in America, it would have been like Basic Instinct, and I think it would have been a totally different movie. I would have had to like lean into like the American sex thriller stuff. And so he gets Isabelle, who liked the book.
Of course.
She was into the book before Verhoeven was attached.
Before it was cool.
But she loved Verhoeven.
And she's like royalty in France. Like she's one of the most critically beloved actors alive.
She rules.
She's great.
Who doesn't love Isabelle?
Everyone loves Isabelle.
And like the same year she was in Things to Come, which is like the opposite movie where like not much happens and it's a very internal and sort of quiet. It's about like aging.
Yeah.
Which is usually
and that's a great performance.
She does. I mean, that's kind of her
a lot of that.
specialty.
No, she can play a hard ass. Like she plays, she had done like the piano teacher and shit.
Yeah.
Like she's happy to do very emotionally intense material.
Yes, she can do icy as well as anybody. But the time
David Ehrlich has this story of sitting next to her at the Sony dinner at Toronto.
Yeah,
and like she was talking to her seat. He was at the Elle table.
Yeah,
and she was talking to whoever she was sitting next to, and apparently got bored of him and just turned to Ehrlich and was like, "Okay, now you'll talk to me." And like, just started talking to him. He should tell it. It's a good story.
Oh God,
I would just die. I would just melt.
There was that great meme last year when she was doing the whole award circuit where it's like, that seems like in your mind you think like, oh, that's one of those actors who's probably like too cool for awards, like doesn't want to do the dog and pony show. She usually either plays badasses or like very emotionally intelligent, introspective people. She doesn't need that. And then it was just like every award show, Isabelle Huppert was like a bar mitzvah boy. Like,
she was so happy when she won that Globe.
She fucking loves awards.
Who doesn't? I love an award. Give me one.
Me too, but a lot of people go to, I don't believe in actors competing, artists, or,
Yeah.
And she was like, give me that fucking hardware.
Yeah.
I'm Isabelle Huppert. I rule.
She seems like she has a good time. Like she, for as serious as an actor as she is, like she doesn't appear to take herself too seriously in those settings, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
It makes me think that she's just like all the more, I don't know, like committed to the right things.
Sure.
Yes. There was some critic, and now I forget who it is, who in a review of this movie last year said she's so good, it's like her skin is acting.
It's a good line.
Right. And I just think about that whenever I see her now, where it's just like, because so often she does those sort of like blank stare, you know.
But
Well, in
What's
this
she
one, she
thinking?
does a lot of the like. You can,
Yeah, a lot of the-
like
Yeah, right.
French sounds. No, who,
Yeah.
me, what, quoi?
Do you want to hear my impression of a French person, which I think is very much in line with this movie? Ask me any question.
How you doing, Griffin? That really is
Right?
Yes.
It's like answering any question is
Yeah.
a burden to me.
Like, where's the ticket stand for the train?
No one in France, it's true, has ever been excited to answer your question.
Yeah.
It's never easy. It's never an
Like in
easy
America,
answer. Yeah.
someone asks me like, "Hey, does this go to 42nd Street?" I'm like, "Oh, yes."
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like,
I can be
I
of
can't
help
wait
to
to
you.
tell you this information.
Yeah. Have me thinking of my mother.
But she does like a lot of that in this.
A lot of that in this.
Yeah. So this movie starts right away with the thing.
Yes.
Right.
Well, first starts with a cat.
A cat.
A cat.
And
Yeah.
I really like that
Chat.
the shot
The shot.
does not is so impassive. Like
Yeah.
basically in both cases. And I feel like it is like the first bucking of this thing where it's like she lives she's a woman of a certain age living on her own. She's only got a cat and like
In a very nice apartment with
Yes.
a lot of bay doors.
Yes.
Yes.
which like and it's like the cat, that would be her friend. That's like the only creature that understands her, but the cat doesn't give a shit
No.
about her.
Cat's like, leave me alone.
And that's your first hint that like, oh, the deck is just sort of like automatically stacked against this woman because even her fucking cat isn't gonna like come and attack this guy.
I also feel like it's like him doing like an anti Gary Marshall. Where like Gary Marshall is famous for being like, cut to a dog, it's funny. Like anytime anything funny happened in a movie, cut to a dog like tilting its head to show like
That's an impression.
even the dog's reacting. And in this movie, anytime
the
something
cat's
terrible's
just
happening,
looking on with just
motionless,
like, I guess
still.
something's happening over there.
And
Yeah.
I think he's like kind of making the cat an audience surrogate where it's like, you're just sitting there watching this.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing anything. You
Yeah.
can't do anything.
And also, of course, we then in the flashback see that she let the cat in, and that was what
Right.
like prompted an opening for her attacker.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she is raped in her home by an assailant in a ski mask,
Right.
Violently.
very
A
violently.
lot of head bashing.
Right.
It's pretty bad.
And then she takes a bath and cleans up the mess and acts like nothing has happened.
It's like 5 minutes.
Her
that
son
are-
stops by and
Right.
he's like, "How you doing?" And she's like, "Ah, ça va." You know, like, you know.
But there's even the moment where I could tell he was doing something very different was how long he lingers on her alone on the floor
Yeah.
after the attacker
Yeah.
has left. Because that's the thing you never get in movies.
Yeah.
It's such an overused thing to use like rape and sexual assault as a dramatic device in films to create conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always just you have to see the action.
Yeah.
And then you don't get that moment, which is the most upsetting moment, which
Yeah.
is someone just sitting there
And trying to figure out what happened.
processing
Yeah.
what happened. And he stays on her for like a
Yeah.
minute.
And this whole movie is about processing what happened, like in
Yeah.
her own way, and in a way that makes you actually have to process it yourself because
Right.
what she is
Sure.
doing is so not what you would expect that you start
Right.
thinking
She's
about
not
why you expect what you expect.
suffering emotionally
Right.
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So if she seems fine with it, then should I not be upset about it?
Right.
But then the next scene.
and now you're
right.
worried that you don't feel upset about it, or
And
Exactly.
then you start to realize that just because she's a woman in a movie doesn't mean that she stands in for all women in movies or in real life.
It's a story
That's-
about one
One woman.
And of course, part of her very specific reaction to a lot of things is her very specific background.
Yeah.
As the
Right.
daughter of a famed murderer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
And there has always been this lingering question
of if how involved she was in the murders.
what
Yeah.
she knew or didn't know. And there's this famous photo
Yes.
of her. The
As
father
a child.
killed a bunch of people in their town
Right.
growing up.
And there's this photo of like a 10-year-old girl with an au pair like sort of
Stare.
icy
Yes.
stare. Yeah.
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 What do you think?
I kind of I forget the nature or like the like reasoning behind the killings or whatever spurred them, but it doesn't
She
have
has that monologue.
something to do with Catholicism. I don't know.
Well, he was a good Catholic man. They say
Right.
this,
Yeah.
like, how could that happen? Like, so surprising, that this sort of family man, religious.
Yeah.
It was something about excommunication. Like he was like going around and letting the
Oh.
children excommunicate from the church, I think, is what I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or was he excommunicated?
I can't. There's that one monologue she has where she's
Yeah.
trying to freak out.
Right.
Patrick
Yeah.
Laurent
Yeah.
Lafitte, who plays her
I
assailant.
mean, it's tough to remember because you do get conflicting tellings as the movie goes on.
You're right.
yeah, sure.
So she still has a relationship with her mom, we find out, but she in a very testy one, but a
Yes,
relationship.
played by Judith Magre.
Mhm.
Magre.
And she kind of exists within culture as almost like a Patty Hearst type figure,
Sure, right.
Yeah.
where
right.
people don't know how to feel about her.
Well, people recognize her in the streets and oftentimes feel emboldened to throw food at her. or
Right, she
whatever.
gets food dumped on her early on in
Yeah.
the movie, and it's like that's another routine sort of humiliation that she has to
Right.
just deal with.
But in the first 30 minutes of the movie, before they start explaining that, you're just like, okay, I've just watched this woman suffer a horrible assault, and now strangers are yelling at her, coming up to her
Yeah.
at the restaurant.
Yeah.
It feels like, is this a movie about the entire world just choosing one person to turn
Right.
against? And then you realize this whole added element of, well, is the deck stacked against anyone feeling sympathy or empathy for her, regardless of what happens to
Right.
her, because of what they associate her with?
Yeah. And also the fact that, maybe in response she's become, a bitch.
She's certainly got a
She's-
specific way of talking to people,
Yeah.
and dealing with people.
Yeah, she's not, she doesn't do a lot to, make people like her. She doesn't go out of her way to make people like her. We'll say that.
Doesn't suffer fools.
Yes.
Doesn't is not one for platitudes.
I also said a bitch with a kind of affection, but I'm allowed to say that.
Yes, you are. We are not.
Um,
And yes, she is this video game auteur.
Right. Then we cut to her at this video game company she runs that is making a game about mind tentacle rape or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Some sort of horror. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know how much thought
but she
Verhoeven
was
put into
supposed to
it.
come out of like a literary
Yes.
career, so publishing.
And
and then
she's
she went into
being an
video.
avant-garde game designer. Yes.
But-
Sure, France. I don't know. Maybe that's happening in France.
Right. And, and this
and she-
game
and
sort
they-
of feels like her blank check project. Like she's coming
That's
off a
true.
big success.
Right, they
and
had
it's
a
taken
hot
a long
game.
time for them to get another one out.
Right. And she has to deal with all these young, testosterone-y nerd boys who are like, you are not a true gamer.
Yeah. No,
Mani's going to be so mad at us.
Yeah.
the word when this started, I think maybe
Sorry, Mani. Je suis désolé.
I think not after Cannes, but I think that the first trailer for this had come out before I saw it in Toronto, and
Sure,
there was
yeah.
this sort of word that was like, did Verhoeven make a Gamergate movie?
Yeah.
Like that was, which I was very, very excited about. It's not that, but I mean, it deals with
But
it
there's
just
a little
enough.
bit of that energy.
Yeah. And I mean, aside from not really necessarily making a whole lot of sense for her character, or at least what we know of her character, it is like the perfect thing for her to be doing in
Sure.
the context of this film, I feel like.
Right. Just because she's surrounded by this
Yeah.
annoying male energy.
But-
Well, and when
yeah.
she gets attacked and then she starts getting these notes and everything, it's
it
just
could
like
be anyone.
then it's just
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I'm surrounded by
Right.
potential,
Yeah.
scumbags, violent scumbags,
Right.
maybe. Yeah.
She does this critique of the game, which runs weirdly like a screening,
right.
and then is very harsh with her notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now everyone is just like, fuck our boss. It doesn't seem like
Yeah.
the first time, nor will it be the last time. But you can
There's
sense
one guy that loves her.
Right. There's
One
one guy that
One
loves her
little
with a
dude loves
very
her.
beautiful penis, apparently.
yes.
So we're told.
Yeah.
According to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a killer peen.
She might have specific taste.
Sure.
Wait, did she say it's beautiful?
No, she says
says
it
it-
looks Jewish.
She says, yeah. it's
But she's sort of
circumcised.
like fond of it, apparently. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. She
She does one of these.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly.
Yeah. She goes,
Ugh, takes off her glasses.
but then this video, this GIF or whatever, starts
Yeah.
circulating around the office where they have
Is that-
superimposed her face
I feel like that's
That
a
comes
little
later.
bit later.
That comes a little later?
So,
Okay.
I mean, just to set up her life, she
Yeah.
runs a video game company. She's divorced from her slightly schlubby ex-husband,
Who's
played by
also
Charles
a
Berling.
writer.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to shop around some project that like where he's like, it's like,
No, he wants to get into video games.
he wants to make a video game.
He
and
has an idea for a video game about robot dogs.
sounds
And you
fine.
play the robot dog Spartacus.
And no one wants this game of his.
And she said that it was like too intellectual. for her
it seems
company.
like letting him down easy, maybe.
Yeah.
She is having an affair with her best friend's husband.
Yes.
She runs the company with her best friend,
Yes.
who is played by Anna Consigny, I
Yes.
think. And then her
Who's
husband.
great in this.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
her husband's like this bald doofus, played by
Yeah.
Christian Burkle.
Who is
Yeah.
irresistible to these two
Yeah.
fascinating,
This
captivating
guy
women.
is a dork.
Yeah.
And then she's got a total fuck up son.
A large adult son.
She really has
It's
a large,
real large
oh,
adult son.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, what's his name? Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent.
Awesome.
And then he's got a sort of like, I mean, like exaggerated harpy, like, you know, shrew. Like, I don't know,
Right.
like you could use every like,
Yeah.
pejorative expression for like a
She's
hen pecking woman.
a classic baby mama.
Sure.
Um,
Who's just on his case. But at the same time, this guy is such a fuck up that you're
Yeah.
sort of like, it's hard to have any sympathy for her son.
Right. Yeah. And I think what happens to the mom, the mother of his child is I think an interesting turn for this movie.
Agreed.
It makes me have also more faith in the movie as not being just like hateful and distrustful
And
of
not
all
just
the
being
women.
button pushing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because her character early on, especially, like what I'm saying, like her early scene, she's just
Yeah.
screaming.
She's
at
just the worst.
Yeah.
and well, we'll get to
Yeah.
her child,
And
like that's
Hubert
it.
hates her.
Hubert hates her because
Yeah.
she's mean to her son, but
Yeah.
Hubert also, I mean, she knows
She
her
doesn't
son.
trust her.
Right.
Oh, and Hubert's character is called Michelle LeBlanc, and she is
LeBlanc's
canonically
sister.
Matt
Yeah.
LeBlanc's sister.
Yeah.
as well.
Yes. Yeah.
This
This is 90s. No, wait. No, never mind. No, it's current day.
There's the point in the film where she picks up the phone and calls her brother and goes, "How are you doing?" How are you
doing? Oof.
How you doing?
How are you
Uh,
doing?
thought we would get through this episode without. All right. Okay. Get the door.
Let me
Griff.
take it.
Yeah.
Who can plant a rosebud?
You again.
Pick petunias too.
I thought we got rid
Cultivate
of
the
this guy.
flowers
I thought
and deliver
We're
them to
done with
you.
him.
Dan Candyman can.
All right, Dan, are you here to talk about flowers again and not candy? Because even though your name is Dan Candyman, you all you would talk about was flowers last time.
I'm here just to check in, say hello.
Oh, all
I
right.
thought we moved past the transactional phase to being friends, but apparently I'm not as warmly welcomed here as I thought I would be.
I'm sorry. It's just usually when people ring a doorbell, which Ben installed for the podcast, by the way. Weird decision.
Bad decision of an audio medium.
Well, I just wanted to make sure if someone was outside, they could
Maybe
let
use
us
a
know.
light or something.
Usually
All
they
right,
just have
sure.
some service to tell us about, but I guess not. And in that case, it's nice to see you, Dave.
Well, yes, look, I'm a pro flower man, but I'm also a human being, and sometimes I just like to say hello to my friends. Hello, David. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Griffin. How are you doing? I'd rather not talk. Listen.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. I said I was doing all right, but it's not true.
What's the matter?
I've been going through a rough patch.
Sorry to hear that, Dan. Even though we don't know each other well, I'm still sorry to hear that.
You know, there's the old saying in the Candyman family, just do it.
Okay. All right. That's an old saying in the Candyman family?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to just do it, right?
Okay.
Because we are a depressive people.
Where's this going?
Winter months hit us hard.
Sure. Yeah.
My job is usually delivering things, but
It's tougher in the winter.
I
It's cold.
don't even want to get off the couch.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can get my products to people without having to, door to door.
With stamps.com, you can access all the services of the post office right from your desk.
I have a desk.
You can buy and print real U.S. postage for any letter or any package. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you just click print mail and you're done.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it.
How many other ads do you
That's a
want to reference
Candyman.
on this?
An old Candyman saying in the family.
You're a weird dude.
I'm not. Okay, come on. I already told you I'm going through a dark patch.
I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry.
Don't
Can I
kick
call you
me
Danny?
while I'm down. Yeah, sure. I want to be friends.
All right.
Why do you think I showed up in the middle of an episode record?
Don't know. You're obnoxious.
Hey!
All right. Well, let me break the ice here.
Okay.
Stamps.com will even send you a digital scale. You can weigh your letters and packages. You can print the exact amount of postage every time.
Wow.
I know it's a good service. I've been using it.
Service like that sounds priceless.
We've got merch. I don't know, Ben.
Well, we can tease it. We can tease it. We got merch coming, and this is a service that will really, really help us with that process.
We can use Stamps.com to send stuff out, without having to leave the house.
You're saying with Stamps.com, you can have it your way?
I'm saying that right now, our listeners, including you, are you a listener?
No, I'm not a fan.
Okay, well,
I'm not into podcasts.
That's fine. Our listeners can use check for this special offer. So
but you have to write a check?
No, the promo code is the word check. It's a 4-week trial, and that includes postage and digital scale.
Huh? I guess you're imploring me to think different.
I'm imploring you to go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in check. That's Stamps.com. Enter check.
What if I have to go to the bathroom?
It's fine.
But you said before you do anything else. I'm just
when you go to Stamps.com, before you do anything else, I want you to click on that microphone. Top of the homepage, type in check. Then you can do whatever you want.
Wow, the king of beers.
Get out of here, Danny.
These are old family phrases.
I'll catch you up. We'll catch up later.
Okay.
We gotta talk Elle.
I'm gonna go back to hiding under the covers of my bed.
All right.
Staring down existential dread.
Sorry, Dan.
Who can plant a rosebud?
All right. Amis. I don't know. What do they call friends in French?
Un bon ami. Un bon ami. Le bon ami.
Copain.
Copain. Le
Anyway.
copain.
So that's her life. And then also she's got this mysterious assailant who, she has to look over her shoulder for it every second.
Yes.
Because he burst into her home and attacked her.
And then
she starts getting creepy text messages. Right.
Her, leaves a computer open. I don't know if it's her computer or his computer, but leaves it in the
bed. Yeah.
And incidentally, she also has a hot, sexy neighbor.
Yes, she does.
With a very Christian wife.
Right. Very sort of boring, repressed wife, I guess.
That is
a sweaterman and his wife.
It is a sweaterman. It's a classic. Yeah.
He's a sweaterman.
God, one of the funniest lines in it, or one of the funniest parts in it, is when they have the Christmas dinner, or when they're setting up the nativity outside their house, and she's just like, "Doesn't it just warm your heart? It's where it all began." Huppert gives her this look that's just like,
what the fuck is the matter?
Excuse-moi?
And you see, they're setting up the nativity, and she watches and masturbates. Mm-hmm. That's quite early on in the movie.
Those dinner,
right?
Yes.
I didn't imagine that, right?
Because that's before that she.
It's when she's having this sort of flirtation with the neighbor, who's played by Laurent Lafitte, who's also the guy who made a Woody Allen joke last year that everybody lost their fucking minds.
Right, he's
about.
a stand-up primarily.
Right, who was hosting some show. He's like, Woody Allen, you haven't even been convicted of rape like Roman, or something like that. And everyone was like, oh, the whole French.
How dare.
Anyway, so that's what he was in, what else has he been in? I don't know.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's like a French guy.
Yes.
Did you hear about that letter that all the French actors and directors
where it's like, what are we not allowed to make out anymore or something?
We're recording this episode at the beginning of January.
Let's not infringe on.
Okay. Well,
I have to say though that is one of I have a tweet that I figure I will have many uses for to bring up over and over and over again, and it's just in parentheses aristocrat's voice. France. That is my response.
Oh boy.
Yep. I'm trying to think if there are any other threads worth commenting on.
Well, her mom.
Oh, and her mother.
Her mom, who is has some kind of
kept boy.
A kept boy that she pays apparently, but then eventually has to marry her.
And early on, Michel Huppert walks into the house and he's sort of massaging her feet or something.
He's just in his underwear massaging her feet.
They're very wealthy, but it's dirty money.
Yeah.
So she lives in this beautiful apartment with this beautiful man and this very exorbitant life. But when she walks out in the street, people throw shit at her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How did they make the money? Is that clear?
No, it's Huppert's money.
She
She bought
money?
the house because after the mom dies, spoiler, she comes by and she's putting it up for sale.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Because the guy was just going to still live there with his new girlfriend.
With his naked girlfriend, yeah.
But I find their relationship to be so interesting because she obviously spends a lot of time with her,
right,
but is so mortified by everything that she does.
Which is not that dissimilar from her relationship with her son, really.
Yeah.
Right, where she has a lot of affection and wants to be involved, but she can't stand anything that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also think it's reflective of she has a disrespect for the mother for falling in love with her father.
Sure.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how could you have such poor judgment?
Right. And the mother is slightly more defensive of the father and is sort of encouraging her to see her father in prison.
Or she has a much more, it feels like she has moved on from the incident in a way that Michelle has not. And I think that's probably the source of a lot of the resentment as well. The fact that she can just like have this younger guy and just like, you know, try to have a comfortable life.
Just enjoy it. Yeah.
Be a bon vivant, one might say.
Bon vivant. My old lady with Maggie Smith.
Bon vivant.
She's getting Botox and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, honestly, you know, if you had a husband who chopped up a bunch of people, I would probably, you know.
Yeah, Emily's just like props.
Do it.
Right. Yeah. At this point, like maybe you deserve to have some fun.
Yeah.
You know?
You're worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth it. That's what Elle's about. It's because you're worth it.
Yeah.
So this is a long movie.
It's a long
movie.
But it's not like it is plotty, but it's, you know, it's just sort of like it's a lot of shit happening. Yeah. I mean, right? It's just like all of these elements. She just sort of ping pongs between them.
Well, and she's like a prism for all of this. Like you just see all of these. None of these relationships are inconsequential.
No,
all of them reflect on her in an interesting way, and like
none of them drive the plot exactly, but none of them are meaningless.
Yeah, and it also is. It's a thing I love in good dramatic writing, where she is
written by David Burke.
Very different with each of them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you get a lot of a very thorough picture of who she is as a person because of how different she is in each relationship, and even whether it's one-on-one or three people, how affected she is by who is or isn't in the room.
Yeah.
You know, because you're spending the movie trying to figure out what's going on in her head. She so rarely verbalizes what she's actually feeling.
Yes, but also, and Verhoeven has led with such a shocking thing, not just the rape, but her reaction to it, where you're just like, what? Yeah, why is this happening?
The entire time.
Right. Yes. So at some points, you're going like, is this the most honest reflection of who she is? Is this the defensive persona? Sure. Is she more like herself with her mother than she is with her friends? You know, when is her guard actually down?
But it is also funny. This is like a weird social comedy about upper crust French people.
The Parisian bourgeois of the 21st century. Right.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit in a very, very different way. But I do like what Doof's most of the men are in it.
Yes.
In very specific ways. It kind of reminds me of The Love Witch in ways where like all of the guys that pass through this, like obviously like this woman who is by no means perfect, but she's doing what she has to do to you know get through her life, and all the guys she encounters are like just all weak in some really key way that is ultimately a problem for her. And like her son is like the most clear example of that. That's one thing. I mean, we can talk about the ending when we get there, but that's another thing that people did not like about this movie was how it resolves her son. And how it resolves her rapist also. But I think that's like one of the most brilliant parts of the movie.
I do too.
Well, I guess
it makes the movie weirdly kind of circular.
Right. Yeah. Because the let's just sort of tackle it character by character. Right?
Yeah, I think
it's
we
like,
gotta.
You know, the middle part of the movie is her trying to figure out who her assailant is,
right?
In, you know, various ways. And she has the scene with the video game designer where she realizes he's making these creepy videos of her, but he's just making creepy videos of her. because he's obsessed with her.
Right.
And at that point, it's just like, okay, you're like number 5 maybe on my list.
Yeah, right. So she responds by cucking him. Right. I don't know what the fuck, like whatever. Let me see that dick. All right.
It's like simultaneously he's in it for the lulz. He's looking for the approval of his like coworkers, and it's like the little kid pushing the girl he likes on the playground.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that I think that's like a kind of a good foreshadowing of what actually happens with her and Laurent Lafitte's character later on, and that she has identified some kind of thing that he wants from her,
right?
And therefore can exploit it and like turn it on its head in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And she does that in a very clean and cold way with him, but then I feel like a similar thing ends up happening with her and the what's his name, the neighbor,
Patrick.
And
Patrick kind of lurks for the first half of the movie. There's not like a lot of him. There's more of the son and the family, and like
Well, they go through when there's like a storm that comes through, and he comes and closes. This is before she finds out that it's him,
right?
Or maybe it's like right before. Maybe
it's
that's
right before.
Yeah,
right
because he comes and helps her close all the shutters to her house.
The most erotic shutter closing sequence in the history of film.
You know what it reminds me of? And this is only because this is January and the holidays have just happened, and I tend to watch this movie every year, is Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah. Honestly, I see that.
Because there's the scene where Judy Garland leads a guy through the house,
the candles.
They put out the candles, and it's this
movie.
totally charged thing where they're like, oh, there's one more candle over here. We have to put it out together.
I love that movie, and I love that scene. I love how much Meet Me in St. Louis is about like house business. Like just sort of like all the shit that goes into this,
house.
right?
Well, and it's weirdly ritualistic. This whole sequence of him helping her close all the windows.
Yeah.
It's like you have to watch them do it one at a time. But there's this vague sexual tension you've sensed between the two of them up until this point in the movie, which has always been when they're in group settings. And now that it's just the two of them, and also for this whole section of the movie, as you said earlier, like he spent an hour just cranking up the tension where anytime there's an open window, you pay attention to every sound or the absence of sound. You're so terrified by what's existing outside of the frame.
Right. And there's certain frightening scenes, like when she smashes the car window and pepper sprays someone, but then it turns out it's her doofy ex-husband.
Right.
Like there's moments where you think something hard. Or even the scene where she confronts the video game guy.
Yes.
Which like feels like it could turn on a dime. Like he could like lunge at her or something. And then, it takes a more comical
makes him show her a peek of the peen.
Yeah.
Has the scene where she goes axe shopping happened at this point?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On.
That's early because that's when she smashes the window.
Right.
She gets that cool axe.
Axe.
She also goes to the gun range a couple times.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing I was trying to find, because I don't remember if I used this in a piece, but because I saw Handmaiden, I feel like the same day that I saw Elle, the first time I saw it.
Wow, that is a double bill.
It's such a good double bill, honestly. I would recommend it.
Sure. I love the Handmaiden.
If you're watching this movie and then you feel like you need something light to follow it up with. Right. But there's this, but there's a line in it that kind of like, I guess resonated because I saw it at the same time where somebody asks, oh yeah, did the big house make her go mad? Which I totally feel like, and that made the house feel like a character in Elle to me, because it is like this thing of like, if you're just a single woman and you're in this big drafty thing. I mean, I feel this a lot because we live in New York and we live in these tiny little shoeboxes. But if I'm ever anywhere outside of New York and I happen to be alone in a house,
oh my God,
I'm just
me
like,
too.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I'm sure
there are empty rooms in this in this house.
Like watching
I definitely. I mean, yes, I have the New York thing of like not being able to handle open quiet at all.
All the money in the world, all those scenes that take place in the Getty Mansion feel like Frankenstein to me. Like they feel like a Universal Monsters movie where it's like so big and there's just like a fire in the corner and he's this little man and they all have to like walk 15 miles to meet him in the other side of the room.
I mean, I don't love that movie, but that's when it comes alive to me because Scott's just like, ugh, look at this. He's filming it like it's the fucking alien corridors or something.
That house so fucking well.
But then I think he just gets so bored by other.
Do you know where they shot it?
In England somewhere, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I went over Christmas in North Carolina. We went to the Biltmore House.
Ooh, is that
Asheville.
a Getty?
It's a
estate?
no.
Oh, it's Rockefeller. What do we
Or
got?
was it a
Rothschild.
I don't
Let's
think
go through all the
famous American industrialists.
I'm totally forgetting now. I don't. No,
Wait,
it
what's it
wasn't
called?
the
What's the
Biltmore House. It is
Biltmore
America's
House.
largest house. It is
Oh, boy.
horrifying.
Oh, it's big.
It's so big and
Vanderbilts. It's the Vanderbilts.
Vanderbilts.
Yes.
That's the one we forgot.
Yeah.
Still owned by the Vanderbilts.
Oh, our first families.
That's where Anderson weekends.
It was pretty horrifying though, because so it's not a publicly, it's not like a
it's
historic
the
home.
Vanderbilts, right?
It is a privately owned attraction. It costs $65 to go there.
That's a lot of money.
And it's one of these things where they just like push you through, like you're going through intestines and you go through all the rooms and everything, but there's no, unlike an educational place, there's like no history
It's
there.
just like,
it's just
look
like,
how
look
rich we
at a
are.
big house. Like,
So
isn't it
big.
great? America. And we went there like 2 days after the tax bill passed, and I was just like, fuck this shit. Like I was in a bad mood there.
Great.
But yeah, I was like, this place would feel hella haunted if you were there by yourself for the weekend.
The only way I wouldn't feel haunted is if it was filled with tourists like that.
You're right. Yeah.
And bring the tourists.
Yeah, like whenever I see
England-
houses that big, I'm like, who would want to live here? You
Yeah.
just feel spooked all the time.
England is just like lousy with houses like that.
Mhm,
Like
yeah.
you can't, drive 5 miles without like
Right.
running into one of those. But so I've been to so many big
Uh-huh.
giant houses full of art in my life.
Spooky.
Been a few of those.
But England's
You're gonna
different
see
because
a
they had
Dracula.
1,000 years to big, and they also have a royal
They had
family.
like dukes and duchesses and
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that.
Yep.
We just had capitalists.
England, they had Wolfmen running wild. Draculas, Frankensteins, mummies,
horror movie character.
big houses.
I get it.
Anyway, I think that the house being big and drafty is definitely
Yes.
a part of what makes this film work as a suspense movie.
Mhm.
Yes, the environments
Mm-hmm.
are good.
And he's doing some really good kind of like Hitchcockian basic like thriller filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know, just with building up a sense of dread and anticipation that you're on edge the entire movie because at any moment you think something might happen. How you doing, Benny?
I just gave Ben a pat.
I'm doing good. I'm
Looking at his phone.
I'm writing my take for the end.
Oh wow, Ben's
Oh
take.
boy.
Poet laureate.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
Okay.
But continue with the conversation.
So wait, okay. So I love the Christmas dinner scene. I think that's incredible.
Yep.
It reminds me a little of the Thanksgiving scene in the first Spider-Man.
In
When the-
first
When the
Spider-Man.
Green Goblin comes over for Thanksgiving dinner and Willem Dafoe's like carving the turkey with a knife and like laughing.
Oh,
I don't remember this.
It's a
I
great
mean, I
scene.
haven't seen it since it was in, but it's probably like the Michael Keaton like driving to the
Yes.
the party scene.
But it's more overtly comedic, which is why
Right.
I equate it to this, where it's just like all this weird tension and then just these like
yeah,
weird explosive.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
invites everyone in the movie over to her house.
Yeah.
Basically, she's like because also she even invites like her ex-husband's new girlfriend who's like a
Elena.
yoga teacher, right? Because she feels bad for smashing her car window,
Mhm.
and like so everyone gets to come and witness each other, I
Mhm.
guess, behaving badly.
Mhm.
This is also where she unloads her "my father was a serial killer" monologue on
Mhm.
Patrick. What
Uh-huh.
else happens?
She feels him up under the table.
Mhm.
What else? Nothing happens with Anna's doofy husband, but we should like
Their
describe
affair.
their affair is like
It's hilarious.
again, it's so funny, but it would not be funny if it was a real thing that happened.
Right. They have like 2 or 3 sex scenes.
Yeah.
And it's like the first one is like the day after he finds out that she was attacked, and she's like, I'm not in the mood, and then that's the one where she sets the trash can underneath
Right. He's
him.
like, come on. And she's like, fine. And puts the trash can under his dick. And it's just like, I'll give you a hand job in the office or something. Like, it's like very
It's perfunctory.
dark and grim.
yeah.
But it's kind of funny.
Then the other times, and it doesn't get any better with them.
No.
It's like I can't even imagine when they had a
hot
hot, steamy
Right.
affair going on.
The line in the hotel.
Yes, this is
after
what I
they
was thinking.
hook up.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he goes, and I mean, it's really funny. He's like that whole dead fish thing you did. That was genius.
Yeah.
Or something to
Where
that
he's-
effect.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my god,
Yeah.
you are an idiot.
He
Yeah.
always says the wrong thing.
yeah.
He's also
Always.
unattractive.
Yes. Yeah, he looks like a thumb.
No, he looks kind of like Howie Mandel, like a French Howie Mandel.
Old Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Howie Mandel.
Howie Mandel?
Oh, oui.
Deal or no deal?
Affaire ou pas affaire?
Deal or no deal?
Bob is what?
Deal?
Cans. That's someone playing Deal or No Deal. Which suitcase?
That?
I just want a sound clip of just everybody doing their best French thinking man sound.
I
put out.
I some years ago, like
I know they don't even have Franck anymore.
I some years ago, like made my like foolhardy attempt to put together an SNL tape, and all I wanted to do was that.
Yeah, just.
I just wanted to do that. My agents were like, "You can't just."
You were like, "We're leading with it
6 times." Yeah, they're like, "That's too short an impression." I was like, "I have no better impression. I will never have a better impression than everyone in that entire country."
Oh man.
It's the face too. You folks at home can't see it. We're all doing some great face work.
Yeah, we are. I want to shout out that her son works at Quick. When I lived in France, I used to go to Quick a lot, which is an insult to a country that makes such great food that I would go to its McDonald's. Because they also have McDonald's, which I would never go to. I would only go to Quick because I convinced myself, like, this is ooh la la.
Can I do?
And like the one time I went to McDonald's, I accidentally got a Big Mac, like by mistake. Like, I ordered wrong.
Yeah.
Can I do?
And I didn't want one.
What sort of a merchandise spotlight?
Was there an Elle merchandise?
There wasn't. Go
on.
But Quick got a lot of attention, notoriety here in the States because for one of the Star Wars movies, they did a promotion where they did a dark side burger where the bun was black.
Mm-hmm.
It went viral.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember this. Yes,
they weren't the first place to do the black burger.
I feel like Japan has a lot of black burgers.
I think most burger had a red burger and a black burger.
Yeah,
Dark Vador burger.
Right, they did the Vader burger.
Dark Vador.
Oh, Jedi burger.
I think it also made people poop weird.
I could see that.
I think there was a running meme about the people who had some funky poops.
So did they discontinue the black bun burger?
Yeah, they did. It was a limited promotion, but I think they discontinued it pretty hard.
Anyway, Quick was good. That's all I'm saying.
It's a good chain.
I like that.
What's the best thing to get at a Quick?
I just would get burgers. I can't remember anymore. I lived in France in 2008. It's a long time ago now. Quick. Yeah, thank you.
So the son lives with his girlfriend, who is
a nightmare.
She's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
right.
She also so there are some deaths and births that happen in this movie.
Right.
I think she's still has she had the baby by the
time of the Christmas party? She's had the baby.
She's had the baby. Okay,
that is an early end.
A wild scene.
It's a wild scene where she's in the hospital. She has like a placental abruption or something, so she's like in pain.
Yeah.
And it's all very. There's that really funny shot of her being like wheeled by, where she's like,
I'm hurting so much.
Isabelle Huppert like, I'll go get some coffee. Like, like so uninterested,
so overdramatic.
Well, she's already talked about her labor with her son and how it was like the worst thing in the world.
And she's basically like motherhood is pain.
Yeah, it's all bad.
And then the baby is born, and
does not look super white.
No. I believe the first line when he is revealed is she's like, "We're going to need a DNA test."
And it should be said also that the girlfriend's other friend is there, who is a black man,
right?
Yes,
and seems a little bemused by the whole situation, and
yes.
But I think the most amazing thing is that Vincent is just like immediately takes it, like is it's just like in such complete like denial of the whole thing.
That's what I find interesting because Huppert is going into this
he
being
does
like,
not acknowledge
right.
Yeah,
Huppert doesn't like the girlfriend and feels like, oh fuck, my son got roped into, now he's gonna have to spend the rest of his life with this woman just because he was an idiot and he knocked her up.
And also she's like paying for their new apartment, and there's this scene where they're moving into the apartment, and the girlfriend's being a pain about the apartment, even though it's like
ungrateful.
Right. Huppert's paying for the whole damn thing.
So then when Au Pair sees the baby and is like, it's not even my son's. Like, now I feel like we're being conned. Like, I'm paying to house a woman who has cucked my son.
He didn't really need to be cucked.
I think
he cucked the son.
I think the scene, I mentioned it to you, I think off mic, that later where he's freaking out and he's like, my son. Yeah. And she's like, he's not your son. And he's like, my son. And she's like, all right, he's your son. It's so funny. Where like that's her whole relationship with that kid. Like he is an idiot, and now he's like bought into this like really like life altering lie. He's had to like put a bubble around his whole brain,
and he's doing most of the heavy lifting as a parent,
right? And rather than sit him down and be like, you have to think about the situation. Like you're probably not the father of this child. Blah blah. You know. She's just like, all right, fuck, he's so passionate about it. All right, you're his father, I guess.
Yeah. So she has the baby. Oh, and then we also find out the wild detail that when she and Anna went into labor at the same time.
Yes,
and
at the same hospital.
Anna had a stillbirth and then breastfed Patrick or Vincent rather.
Yeah.
And so like she's afraid that like Anna has a like stronger bond with Vincent than she does, which doesn't come up too much, but I feel like is another one of these like interesting ties with this group of people where it's just like another complication.
Yeah, they're all sort of knotted up together.
Yeah.
And of course, right. She's having an affair with her best friend, with Anna's husband. There's a scene where she and Anna get in bed together. And they sort of like laugh, like at that. Where they're like, if
remember
only
when we tried to?
We tried it once we couldn't stop laughing. And
they give each other 5 comedy points.
And also, but then there's also this obsession with like, is it this? Is this the why this? You know?
Right.
Is it the father? Is it the breastfeeding? Right? You know, like we're like, can we explain this just by looking into like the past?
Yeah. And also, like, I mean, the thing with Anna when they're like, you know, remembering making out, trying to make out or trying to have sex or whatever, like that is another thing where it's like, that could totally be some schlocky beat in a movie like this, where it's like, she's actually a lesbian. Right? It's like, it's not even that she's not like, she's close to the idea. She's just like, no, it's like, you know, they like men. And then that's almost worse and more complicated.
They're like the wolf
fair. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And also, she just has a very peculiar relationship with intimacy, emotional intimacy. And so maybe that was attractive to her about her friend, about Anna, where it's like, well, could that be a way to find like a connection with someone? We also, and there's also the scene where her husband, you know, is like, why'd you like, or she's like, you never should have left, or we never should have broken up. And he was like, you left me. And she says, you hit me. And he's like, well, I regret that. And then, like, that's that. You know, like, that's a self-contained little scene.
But then the son gets physical with her as well during the scene at the house.
The son gets physical with his wife.
Right.
Or with his girlfriend.
Right. Yes.
They're not
Sorry.
married.
Yeah, that's right.
That's later, where, like, because she's it's all, like, half heard. Like, the son quits his job because, like,
he lost
his car's in the shop.
Yeah. He's just an idiot. He's an idiot.
He's like, well, if you ride the metro, you like
it takes
unhealthy.
an hour. The air quality. Oh my God.
What a fucking, and like, this is the thing. Every time she sees her son, she's like, I want to be on your side, but like, you're so bad. Oh God.
But what you're saying, I mean, I feel like it speaks to the complexity of this character and this characterization that they're getting at in this movie, where like this movie presents a lot of what another movie would choose to frame as a quote unquote easy answer.
Yeah.
Well, here's the Rosetta Stone to figure her out.
Yeah.
It's this.
Drink.
She's actually secretly this. This is the moment that changed her. And it's like, no, she's the entirety of her experiences and all of these things. That's the reason she's such a complex, contradictory person.
Well, so is there something else you wanted to say about the Christmas party, though?
Well,
you did bring up the Christmas party.
Her mom announces that she's getting married to the boy.
Oh, God, I forgot
And
about
then
this.
about 2 minutes later, her mom falls over with a heart attack.
A stroke, I believe.
Her stroke,
yes.
yeah.
But doesn't she also, she like announces this, she also says, like, go see your father.
Yeah.
And Isabella Huppert like, fuck no.
Yeah.
And then she has a stroke.
Yeah. She walks off screen and then there's a clatter and immediately she's like, is this a joke?
Yeah, the line is like, seriously?
Yeah,
right.
And everybody's like, how could you say that?
Right, and even with her doctor, where her doctor is like, she may never wake up again. She's had a traumatic brain event. And she's like,
is there any possibility she's faking?
Could it just be fake, though? Have you explored that possibility?
Is she manipulating you right now? Yeah, it's amazing.
It is good, like, where, like, her mother dies, and to Hupert's, like, it's like this is her like her lousiest move yet. She's just trying to get at me, and then she finally agrees to go see her father, and he kills himself before she can get to him.
Like basically, she intuits that, or like
he couldn't face her.
Right. It was like right after that he got the notification that she was going to be coming by that he hung himself, and then she's like, "I killed you by coming here," like over his corpse. It's wild stuff.
And then also
some real wild stuff here in this movie. Wild stuff.
Melissa Villaseñor.
I was doing
every time you do that, I'm going to say
Johnny Carson. I was trying to. Do
you were doing Johnny Carson, but I was doing Owen Wilson.
Okay, so this is Johnny Carson as Lightning McQueen.
Oh, I was going to say it sounded like Goldblum.
Well, wild stuff. This Mater. Tow truck. You guys read about this Mater, the tow truck? Wow.
This is gonna. I think this
I'm glad we went from Elle to Cars.
This is the episode that's going to do it. I think we're going to
Johnny
win.
Goldblum Wilson.
We're going to win the Oscar for this one. This is it.
This is it?
Best picture.
This is the one they'll remember us for?
Yes. This is the one they'll remember us for.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Ben is truly furiously typing away
detached
an iPhone note.
He is writing his letter of resignation as we speak.
From the United States of America.
It may concern.
Yeah. He's moving.
I, Ben Hosley.
Oh, God.
Attention, film geeks, cinemaphiles, lovers of great conversations, nerds.
Sure.
Yeah, I doubt anyone has left the room, because if you're listening to this show, you fall into all those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Chuck Bryant of the Stuff You Should Know podcast has a new show called Movie Crush. That's some stuff you should know.
Yeah.
Right there. He sits down with your favorite people to talk about their favorite movies.
Sure.
The likes of, Tig Notaro, John Hodgman, Kevin Pollak, Tony Shalhoub, comedian Kyle Kinane, Jeopardy's Ken Jennings, podcaster Roman Mars, and more.
Wow, you really went high at the end there.
I want to show my range.
Well, they talk about movies like Clockwork Orange, Jaws, Groundhog Day, and The Avengers, deep dives into some of the best films ever made with the people who love them the most. And you'll laugh and you'll cry and you'll gain serious insights into what makes a movie an all-time favorite. So it sounds like an actual good movie podcast, unlike ours.
Right. I mean, we have never made anyone cry for good reasons.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the reasons
Frustration.
that you laugh and cry may surprise you.
Yeah. So, you know what? Here's my advice. You want a little advice from me?
Sure.
Check out Movie Crush.
Anywhere you get your podcasts. What is also happening is she reveals her attacker comes to her again. She stabs him through the hand with a pair of scissors and rips his ski mask off. And it is Patrick, her hot, sexy Lauren Lafitte neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh, the twist.
Quel twist.
Sacre bleu. Yeah. And after that, I feel like he just runs off. She
runs off, right?
And then I think this is the thing that like throws people is that the next day that they're outside or she's taking out the trash or whatever, she sees him outside and just sort of stares him down and doesn't do anything about it. And then later I think is that when
she's in a car accident.
She's in a car accident. I think
that's
when she's
coming back from
prison. From prison.
This movie is so crazy.
I know.
Forget she's in a car.
She's in a. I remember when I was watching the car accident. I was like, seriously, a fucking car accident now? But so a reporter calls her with like, your father is dead. Oh no.
and is still on the phone after she's wedged
money.
in between a tree. In between a tree, she's like, "How are you feeling? Like guilty, sad?"
Yeah, right.
While like blood is coming out of her head and whatever.
And she calls everyone and no one answers because her whole family network are a bunch of idiots anyway. So she calls Patrick and he shows up.
Now, I feel like there were probably still about 10 other people that we haven't met yet in the movie that she could have called besides Patrick, but I feel like this
AAA?
Right, yeah.
Ghostbusters?
Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, I feel like that's a very conscious choice at that point. I'm sure that, obviously she would rather have had a friend there, but like at that point, I feel like the gears start turning for her, and then there starts to be this like maybe she doesn't even consciously know what it is at that point, but like there is some sort of like, can I flip the script on this in some way?
Right, because their sex sort of walks this line where, well, I mean, there's that. How many times do they have sex? Because there's a scene in the basement where
that's after they
go home and he bandages her up.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And then it feels like something's gonna happen, just like consensually between the two of them. But then he's like, I can't do it like this.
He leaves. Right. Yeah.
Because he can only get it up if he's raping a lady.
Right. And so in the basement, when they're doing more of like a role play, then she gives her consent. He's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
You fucked up.
Yeah, and all she does is say, do it.
Right, yeah.
Which I remember really clearly from the first time I saw it, which was just like those two words were what like killed it for him, which was just, it felt like
her having agency over the situation.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a funny mirror to Flesh and Blood.
I was going to say, this is him successfully pulling off what he tried to do in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, in Flesh and Blood, it doesn't work nearly as well.
He overreaches greatly.
Well, and also it's set in medieval times. So it just like our relationships to how characters think is just totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it becomes a very, very complicated thing where you're watching it going like, is this part of some longer game she's playing? Has she genuinely fallen for him? Like what? You know, it's very hard to read.
Yeah.
And it's a long movie. It's been going on for a while. So you're like, we got to be in the back, like,
right.
Like 20 minutes of this film. Where the fuck is he going? Like, where's this going to land ultimately?
Yeah. And not knowing where it's going to land that first time is like what makes it so totally engrossing, I think.
The first time you're watching this, it is like a knife edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because after the last big set piece is the big launch party at the office.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we see the video game and it's like better, I guess. It seems the same to me. And they're all like, oh, so good. But like at the big party is where like she's just like, you know what? I don't like any of these people. I'm Isabelle Huppert. It's time to like settle some scores.
Well, she tells Anna
that she's cheating on her husband.
That actually is the only thing I think that is clumsily resolved in this movie.
Where later, where Anna's like, "Why'd you do it?" And she's like, "Oh, boof." And Anna's like, "Well, it was shabby," which is a great French.
Shabby.
That was shabby of you. And she's like, "Boof."
And then they like walk off on it. I don't know.
My mom fucking lost it at that. She was like, "That's the most accurate thing I've ever seen."
All right.
I mean, because technically, the end of the movie is she's going to move in with Anna, right?
Yeah,
yes.
they're gonna be friend wives.
Yeah.
Yes,
not
just like every woman's actual fantasy. I think
not what they've gone through, but the way they're speaking of it. She was like, "That is so on point." For the like wanting to seem just kind of like, well, it is what it is.
Well,
it's shabby. Right.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
Shabby.
Yeah, right.
NAGL.
Yeah.
But so she tells Anna there, and then I can't remember if she is a part of getting Vincent really drunk, because he does get very drunk again at the party.
Right. Well, yeah, and we did skip over that scene where Vincent like puts his hand on his girlfriend's throat.
Yes.
And
because
his mother shuts him down.
Yeah.
Or, tries to at least.
Yeah.
But go on. Sorry. What?
He's kind of generally getting sloppy at this point. I mean, I think the fact that she's welcoming him into her life totally starts breaking his brain.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you mean Patrick?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Patrick.
No, he doesn't. He is. It feels like they're both equally wary of each other, which is also what it's not at this point. I would say, even though he is still obviously like the predator in this relationship, he doesn't really know what he's being predatory of at this point anymore, which is like the first move of hers that like destabilizes him.
And he's not in control anymore, which terrifies him.
But wait, what did you want to say? Did you want to say something about the son? Because I feel like you mentioned earlier you like how the son's relationship with the girlfriend is resolved.
So I couldn't remember if this was like a part of her doing or just like him getting drunk on his own, but he does get wasted at the party. And then when they go back to the house and she knows that Patrick's going to come in and attack her again, he's like, coming in right after her. She knows that. She sets it all up so that I'm sorry, my throat is giving out right now. I told you I was getting sick. So when he is attacking her, Vincent could come in and save the day and maybe her pulling the strings has caused him to think like, oh, maybe I'm not a piece of shit, and maybe I should start acting like not a piece of shit.
Right.
Like it feels like such a super it feels like a Cersei Lannister move or something. Like it just feels like such a totally indirect piece of action to get men to be better around or be like what you need them to be. Which I think is fascinating in this. But I mean, a lot of people that ending of him killing Patrick, a lot of people are like, well, why doesn't she get to kill her own rapist? Why doesn't she have the bloody revenge that she's been like imagining and daydreaming about?
She does have this one scene where she imagines killing him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, I think we get to see that in that. We know that she's, I think, probably 100% capable of killing him. But I feel like that isn't, she's been living a life of like that's haunted by violence her entire life, and why would she want to?
It's not necessarily what she was looking for.
Yeah,
no, and it's more of like an idea that floats into her head.
Yeah,
and it's a direct mirror of her relationship to her father's crimes.
Yeah,
because there's that whole question of like, did he? Was he influenced by her? Did she help him?
Yeah. So she sort of passed the buck on to her son, essentially.
Kind of, right. Like she's like sent the curse through the bloodline.
But I would say that probably like stabbing his mother's rapist and saving her is probably a little less on the scale than like murdering a village.
True. Yeah. So you feel like he's going to come out of it looking better.
Yeah. He smashes Patrick over the head a bunch and he dies. That's like the end of the movie.
Yeah. Wait, did you touch upon though the car ride back from the party when he escorts her back home?
Right, yeah.
Because there's a really important moment there, which is she basically points out the nature of their relationship, and she uses a very interesting word to describe that.
What did she?
Twisted.
I knew that the word twisted was going to come up in this podcast.
I forgot about that. It is. He's marking the time,
Thank
folks.
you,
Pam.
Of course.
How do we say twisted in French?
Damn it.
Look it up. I also really like
Tardu.
Like
Tortuga.
Like a turtle?
Yeah.
Like the island of Tortuga from the Pirates of the Caribbean
A
franchise?
turtle is tortu.
Oh.
Very close.
I like the final scene with her and now his widow.
Oh, wait, what I see, this is the part that I kind of skimmed through when I was rewatching this last time.
There's the final scene where you see she's moving out of their house across the street. Now she's like a widow and a single mother with this baby. And she kind of tips her hand to like knowing that her husband had these things that he couldn't repress.
Yeah.
That she tried her hardest to like make a normal life for him. But kind of knew that he was a liability at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that now. I remember feeling, like the wife was aware of something, but not necessarily aware of what was going on between them at the time.
Not like complicit, but aware that her husband had monstrous tendencies.
Yeah.
And that probably he was going to hide out at some point. He was never, or Jekyll out. He was going to Jekyll out.
Hide. Jekyll's the bad one.
No,
Jekyll's the good one.
She married Jekyll.
Yeah.
Knew he was going to hide out.
Isn't he he's not a doctor. He's a banker.
Yeah.
Mr.
Jekyll. And Hyde Esquire.
Yep.
Hyde Esquire.
And then ends with them
her and her gal pal
arm in arm.
Yeah. I do think that is every woman's actual fantasy. To live with your best friend in a partnership, a domestic partnership. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah,
just put it out there.
Ben,
what's up?
Is your take? Have you finished copy editing?
Yeah, I have. All right, here, let me bring it up for you guys. Okay,
ladies and gentlemen, the poet laureate, our finest film critic, a close personal friend of Dan Lewis. Here is Ben Hosley on Paul Verhoeven's Elle.
So the portrayal of disillusionment through the character of Michelle really resonates with me.
Wow, this is poet laureate shit right here.
I feel a kindred spirit with her character, and I surmise this is related to her being a loner. From her sense of humor to her manipulative nature, she relates to the world as me against it. But whereas Verhoeven's previous films are these satirical send-ups of story conventions, there's something about the black humor and unconventional nature that causes me to ultimately believe the tone or mood can best be described as punk rock.
That was phenomenal, Ben.
Thanks.
That was phenomenal. I think people feel like we use our finest film critic facetiously, but it's because once a year you do that.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Yes.
That made me want to ask a question of you guys, all of you guys.
Okay.
Do you feel like Michelle is the closest Verhoeven proxy that we've gotten so far?
I'm
To
thinking-
himself?
Mhm.
I'm thinking
Yes.
through his other protagonists.
I believe so.
Okay.
Certainly. Well, you're thinking
yeah.
of like when you think of the Hollywood movies, I would agree.
Oh, yeah, of the Hollywood movies, I think almost.
Because
certainly.
I haven't seen all his Dutch films. Perhaps there's
Yeah.
more to that. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
I think I think this movie is him imagining himself as a woman, how he
Mhm.
would have existed in the world as a woman,
Mhm.
and how differently he would have been viewed.
and
in a lot of
the
ways.
blase-ness to like sexual violence and coming at it from such a completely different angle because of something in your childhood, I think is
The
also,
desensitization.
yeah.
Can I say something, Ben?
Yeah.
When you said in your essay that it becomes a story of me against it.
Yeah.
What are you? Home Again with Reese Witherspoon opened against it at the box office.
That's a great segue into
What are you? Lee?
Let's play the box office
yeah,
game.
yeah.
What do you think so too?
Film Home Again?
Emily, you posed the question.
Open number 2 behind it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was wondering if anything else had come up against your guys'
I mean, honestly, I
awareness.
think Black Book is indulging a fantasy of
Sure.
his. We didn't
Yeah.
just do an episode on that movie, but like in terms of like his
I feel like that's his
fascination with-
only other post-Hollywood
Yeah.
Pretty much.
He is the
picture
only
that
two.
I've seen.
It's
He's
the only
only done
one.
2.
Yeah.
There's
Wait,
a
no,
film,
isn't there another one?
There's a movie
All
called
right.
Trick that was part of like a film class. It's like a bunch of
Oh,
short
okay.
films
That
put
thing
together.
doesn't really count.
It's
yeah.
more of an experiment than it is.
Yeah.
I don't think he considers it like a full
a
proper.
Verhoeven film,
Right.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like I don't. Yeah, he's not identifying with Johnny Rico in the same
No.
way,
Right,
or
right.
No, I think
fucking-
this is weirdly his most personal movie in terms of his relationship to the
and
main character.
also we've talked about his Hollywood years where he was so intent on like studying like American
Yeah.
genre movies
yeah,
and like
cracking the code.
exactly finding the ways that he could smuggle ideas onto the big
Yeah.
screen without having a flesh and blood happen to him, where basically he would
Yeah.
give them the movie and they'd be like, ew. And he'd be like, no, you don't.
But it's also
He's not French.
No? No, he's gold member.
yeah,
That's
Blanc
our...
Schnablan.
I love
He
gold.
eats his own skin.
Yes.
I think he mostly is interested in functioning as a cultural critic,
Mhm.
both of the cultures and the work that those cultures produce, and that doesn't leave a lot of space to like put yourself into the characters.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what makes them good and stand out, I feel like, too, is that I feel like a lot of other filmmakers have more of a priority of putting themselves or seeing themselves in their movies.
Right.
And that's like a lesser priority.
In a way that can become oftentimes solipsistic.
Mhm.
As their careers go on, it's like every movie, it's the character come in the same perspective. But I think that also speaks to he entrusted Huppert more than he certainly has with any of his actors since Rutger Hauer. And Rutger Hauer was a very different type of performer who wasn't going to be as vulnerable on screen.
I didn't know that thing about him not giving her any direction, but that's, I mean, that reflects well on both of them, I think.
She's
I think it reflects super well on him because it's like this
you don't know how to
conversation.
direct this lady on how to,
I'd be fucking afraid of directing her in anything.
Right, 100%. But also,
but like even any woman though, I feel like to be like, no, that didn't quite read right in how you expressed your fear or, annoyance or whatever, like.
And also, as we're getting into like this ongoing cultural conversation of like who gets to tell what stories, it's like I think any person can direct any movie if you admit what you don't know and surround yourself with the people and give them the chance to offer them authorship in those areas. Because like a director can just be a conductor.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the auteur and the author of everything.
Yeah.
You can go like, let me bring the right people who have the voices and put them all in the same pot.
Yeah.
I think it speaks very highly to him, and he got her an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Oscar nomination he's gotten for an actor.
Yeah. Her first nomination at
Which
you know
is
decades
great, which
of
is crazy.
illustrious work. Yeah,
She's been in Hollywood movies. I mean, not
Yeah.
a lot, but some.
yeah, she is.
You like Starship Troopers, though? You just watched
I
Starship
love
Troopers.
Starship
You
Troopers.
tweeted about it a lot.
I just watched it for the first time in a very long time. A week ago. I was just like, yeah, and that is like I feel like maybe the most classic example of him making a film as a critic.
Sure.
Because it is. I mean, what other movie is like an adaptation in that way? Like,
Yeah.
what other movie adapts against its source material
Sure.
like that?
And I would die to see a movie like that today
I know.
from anything. Like you're like, man, if someone could make like one of the 50 Shades of Grey movies like that, you know?
Yeah.
Or make like a Harry Potter movie like that, or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I feel like this 50 Shades movies might be a bad example because I
Sure.
feel like, I don't know, I feel like the source material was never really taken seriously to begin with. But I think when you have something that so many people were so invested in and
Yeah.
so enamored of, to just like not even make a joke of it, but like expose it to be what it actually is, what you believe it is.
you know what actually feels like a closer analog? When they were picking a director for the last two Twilight movies, and they went with Bill Condon, but the other two people they met with were, do you remember this?
No.
Gus Van Sant and
Okay.
Sofia Coppola.
What?
And both of them came in and were like, if you actually are offering me, this is what I do. And they were
Mhm.
like, yeah, too weird.
Yeah.
Sure.
And both of them have spoken to their pitches and were like, look, I would have done it. I like Kristen Stewart a lot.
Mhm.
If I could have done it through my prism,
Yeah.
like there's interesting stuff there to talk about.
Yeah.
But they were like, we can't do something that isn't literally what the fans
Yeah.
view the text as being.
Oh man. I mean, if you can imagine how people would react. If,
Right.
Like somebody did that with Twilight.
Yeah.
But Twilight, especially those
Twilight
last two movies are like, those are ripe for that.
Yeah.
Like those are some
I don't-
insanely like fucked up sexually, like fucked
Yes.
up attitudes
Oh,
towards
yes.
sexuality and
Yeah.
like what it is to be a teenager.
I think the last one is good. I think the last
The
one
last
is the
movie.
one where
Breaking Dawn
Condon
Part 2.
gets closer than anyone else to.
That's the one
find
with
a way
the
to-
big fight that
That's-
turns out to be
yeah.
not a real
No,
fight.
yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
also got a lot of really weird comedy in it.
Can we play the box office
Yes,
game?
please.
This movie opened at number, let me even find it, 43
Okay.
on two screens on
Does that one
November 11th, 2016.
Does that count? How do you
With a movie like Elle, like
There's
its
no
top
real-
Yeah.
amount of screens in America was 209
Yeah.
in January.
Essentially, if it never goes over 1,000, we do the literal opening weekend, and if it went that wide later, we do that weekend.
It basically went wide after the Oscar nominations,
Mhm.
like quote unquote wide. It added 170 theaters,
Yeah.
Right.
and then immediately shrunk back down the next week, and
Too
then
big, too wide, too wide.
Oh,
right,
sorry,
and then it did it
everybody.
again.
Sorry.
It did it again in February. My guess is after the ceremony,
I
and then
think probably.
immediately
Wow.
shrunk back down again.
Huh.
What was the final total domestically?
$2.3 million.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about right.
I believe it made about 15 worldwide.
Yeah.
Which was more than its budget.
Mhm.
Number one at the box office is a Marvel movie.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Oh,
L'étrange.
Oh,
L'étrange.
quel strange.
Oh, qu'est-ce
quel
que c'est?
Le
Parallel
jour.
universe.
Bonjour.
Le jour, c'est strange.
So sorry, Mike. Yeah, Doctor Strange. I think that movie's fine.
I do
don't
too.
know.
I actually kind of weirdly like that movie more with time.
I don't mind the Marvel movies that are just doing their own thing.
That movie is garbage. I'm sorry.
You
that
don't
one's
like the
fun.
Marvel movies.
I don't like the Marvel
Yeah.
movies, but I like the visual thing
don't
that
say that in
everybody
an
else likes
accusatory
about
way.
those. But you know what? I also like have the memory of that being the last movie I saw in the theaters before the election. So
Sure.
it's
Yes,
like-
that's accurate.
and I think I spent the last day before the election writing my piece
Thinking about Doc
So
Strange.
that's exactly where my head was.
Sure.
And then what? Yeah.
I think it's a deeply flawed movie. Like I think it has some fundamental story problems, and I think they try way too hard to make Benedict Cumberbatch Downey Jr. Like
Yeah.
they should just not even try to give him quippy one-liners. That's not
Yeah.
what you hire him to do. But the visuals.
He does quippy one-liners.
He's fine.
though.
I think he's pretty good.
he could
He's
do
doing
Sherlock.
He's doing Sherlock. He's
But
doing the
also
I'm
trying to be
smarter
an-
than you guy.
He's also
Sure.
trying to be like a rich asshole, though, and I think
Right.
like those two things do not mesh well. You can't be a quirkster and be that.
I agree with
Well, because the origin of Doctor Strange is so silly, where it's like
Right.
he's a doctor, he's so rich, but also he
Stupid.
hurts his hands.
Lives in a
Stupidest
Greenwich Village
fucking
townhouse.
setup.
Right.
I cannot believe you guys and your fucking little baby books and how much money they fucking make because this movie was dumb as hell. I'm sorry.
Love my baby books.
is coming for us.
Love
our baby
my
books. Hey man, the
Tobos.
early Doctor Strange, that's like foundational psychedelic literature of the 60s, man. That stuff is so good. The Jack Kirby shit, it's so good.
Foundational?
Yes, absolutely. Back me up.
Yes, agreed.
Yes.
And
Doctor
I'll
Strange
I'll
was
say
huge
this.
influence, like the way it was drawn,
I'll
especially.
say this: if those are baby books, then slap a diaper on me. Baba goo goo.
All right, I'm out.
Gaga.
All right, I pull it out. I pull it out. I pull
Give me
it out
my
of this.
Kobos.
Pull it out of this right now.
Give me my Kobos.
Doctor Strange, Strange Tales, 1963, fucking rules.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Cool.
stuff is crazy. The movie is fine.
Yeah.
Number 2 is an animated.
Also, by the way, if any of our blankies attack Emily for calling them baby books,
oh, shut the.
we're
Yeah,
literally
fuck
gonna
off.
murder you. We'll go L on your
They are
ass.
dumb baby books.
If you tweeted Emily, I'm going axe shopping. That's all I'm promising you.
I'll bring the
She's
pepper
fine.
spray.
Emily's hardcore. Number 2 is an animated film written and directed by Richard Lawson.
Trolls. His trolls.
Oh, it's Trolls.
His trolls.
Shout out to Richard Lawson.
Shout out to Rylaw's Trolls. In its second weekend, it's made $93 million.
His trolls did well. Yeah.
His Trolls did okay.
I think his trolls got greenlit for a sequel.
I don't know. It made $153 on a $125 million budget, which is a
But-
lot of money for
but
Richard Lawson,
lot
who
of
was a first-time filmmaker.
A lot of merchandising.
I know.
That movie is
And you
like
couldn't stop the
Cars.
feeling.
But you can't stop the
can't
feeling.
stop
I was
the
about to
feeling.
say
We tried
that.
very
Yeah.
hard and we couldn't. We tried in vain. We lost a great many men that day.
Number 3 is, I believe, and I forgot that this movie just went wide. Number 3 is what I'm pretty sure was Emily's number 1 film of the year.
For 2016.
2016.
Emily's number 1 film of the year. Do you think you know what it is?
I think I know. It might. I'll give you another hint. If it is what I think it is, also a terrible movie to see in Alamo Draft House.
Also a terrible
interesting.
movie to see at
I
the
think this
Alamo
is.
I don't know.
That's what I.
Draft House. It just went wide. It had been limited.
No, it opened wide.
Oh.
I forgot that it opened wide.
You thought it had platformed.
It was like an Oscar got a bunch of Oscar nominations.
Wait,
Yeah, it's not
it
what
op-
you think it is.
It's not. Never mind.
No? Did it win any?
I don't think it
Because
did.
because
No.
that
Yes,
movie
it won
came out
one.
the next week.
Maybe it wasn't your number 1 then, but it won sound editing.
Great sound. Is it a music-based film? Try to think of things that win sound awards.
No, it is about a language.
What? Emily doesn't even know what this is.
No, okay, so I know what it is now, but that I don't. I feel like that. Wait, what weekend was this again?
November 11th, 2016.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what it is.
Why am I blanking on this? Should
I
this
was
be
right the
obvious?
first
Best
time.
Picture nominee.
It was a best.
Not a great movie to see at the Alamo, in my opinion.
No, it's a terrible movie to see
Yeah.
at the Alamo.
I when you said that, I was like, yeah, that lines up.
Oh, Arrival?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
I
of
believe
course.
I did see it at the Alamo.
Yeah.
I saw it at least 3 times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great film.
Am I correct that it was your number 1 of
it was my
2016?
number 1 of
Yeah.
2016.
Okay, great film.
In
Great film.
a great film in a great year, 2016 was a better movie year than 2017.
I agree.
Just putting that out
I don't know
there.
if I agree with that. I like 2017. I just feel like it was more of a consensus year where like everyone kind of agreed on the same big movies. But maybe
You mean
I'm wrong.
2017 or
2017.
really? Because I feel like 2017 is like like 2017 has
Yeah.
got a lot of like B pluses and A minuses.
I know,
That's
but
how I
I just feel like a lot of people basically liked like Lady Bird, Call Me by Your Name,
Right,
the Florida
right.
Project,
Yeah.
and like then
But
maybe
that's a
Dunkirk.
lot of,
You know,
I mean,
that's a lot of consensus. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people had those 4 movies in their top 10.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And like that's not usually how this. And then maybe Phantom Thread as well, like
Right.
which
Sure.
is a later bloomer. But
I need to see that again. Man.
I think 2017 was an awesome year.
It's a good year. I'm not saying it's a bad
Yeah.
year, but when I think of the movies that came out in 2016,
16
I
felt
want
really
to look
strong.
at my 16.
yeah, I was very.
Moonlight, Arrival, Handmaiden.
I mean, 2016 had Moonlight.
Elle.
That's good.
It had Moonlight.
Yeah.
It had Handmaiden. It had Elle. It had
I think what else?
Arrival. It had
Yeah.
fucking Green Room. It
The
had
Witch.
The Witch.
Mm.
It had The Love Witch. It
Mm.
had it was a good
20th
year.
century women.
Right.
Ages. Sully.
Sully.
There we go. 2016 was a
Birds.
better year.
And number 4 is a comedy, a Christmas comedy coming out in November. Big family comedy.
Does Santa Claus appear in the cast?
I don't think so.
No Santa Claus. So it's a Christmas.
It's like
Is it a fuck? What's it called? Not Almost Christmas.
It is that. It's Almost Christmas.
It's Almost
yes.
Christmas.
Which I never saw.
I didn't either. Danny Glover's in it.
It's Almost Christmas.
It's called Almost Christmas.
Romany Malco.
Yeah,
Monique. It's got
Monique,
like 45 people above the title.
Yeah, Gabrielle Union, JB Smoove,
Yeah.
Kimberly Elise, Omar Epps. It's got a stacked cast
Yeah.
actually.
I'm actually surprised I've never seen that. I like Christmas movies.
It's got like John Michael Higgins is like the tightwad.
Oh boy,
Bad Zoo Boy himself.
Bad Zoo Boy, the original Bad Zoo Boy,
And then number 5 is a war film.
and not a war horse film.
No, there weren't a lot of horses in that I can remember. You know, the beginning of this movie is kind of war horsey, actually.
Again, was kind of war horse.
Yeah.
It's a war
It's a
film.
really intense movie.
It's a really intense movie.
Also a Best Picture nominee.
Incredible how much my brain just
War.
melts away. I just
Yeah,
have
I know.
no idea.
This was a year ago. Here's another thing I felt watching this movie, knowing that like I saw it for the first time a year ago. This last year has been so fucking long, just because of the amount of shit.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of stuff that like takes up occupation
Yes.
in your brain where other stuff that you'd like to remember perhaps more fondly and with more detail and specificity has been pushed out of the way just by,
We're
by
recording
force.
this in January, and it's like, we're talking a movie that came out like 13, 14 months ago, and it feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a war film, so I probably didn't like it very much, right?
I don't even know if you saw
I
this
don't
film.
remember what war in
Oh, it's
films-
Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh.
A Mel Gibson.
It's
I didn't
Hacksaw
see
Ridge,
that.
which you told me not to see because I wouldn't like it.
I did.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't like it very much.
I
Did you see it in the
wasn't gonna
theater?
that movie.
No, I watched it on a screener. I take
terrible movie to watch on a
Terrible
screen.
film to watch on a screener. I take my responsibilities as a SAG voter very seriously, and I watch
Fair.
everything.
NDG was nominated.
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't vote for him.
So that was number 1?
That was number 5.
Arrival was number
Yeah.
1.
No. Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Trolls.
Right.
Arrival opens
Yes.
number 3 at 24 million. Almost Christmas opens number 4 at 15, and then number 5 is Hacksaw Ridge, which was not nearly as big a hit.
Arrival is kind of Ben's got a remote.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Ben. Okay, cool. Got it.
But when Ben wants the podcast to end, he turns off a TV which has a picture of us on it.
All right, he wants it over. So
This
you
is
don't think,
like, what is this, Click?
you don't want to talk about. All right, well that's it. We're done.
Oh, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Paul Verhoeven, for making all these lovely movies.
Do we want to do Verhoeven rankings?
Oh,
I've got my rankings.
I got mine ready.
I've got my main rankings of the movies we discussed.
Exactly. So not
Yeah.
covering the things.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to
No.
hear your rankings.
Okay, ready?
Sure, you go first. Yeah.
Number 1, Robert Cobb.
Yeah, you like that one.
Number 2, Starship Troopers. Number 3, Elle. Number 4, Total Recall. Then Basic Instinct. Then Showgirls. Flesh and Blood. Hollow Man in last place. But
You like everything but Hollow Man, basically.
I like Hollow Man.
And yeah, right. But
Right.
Hollow Man's more of a.
We'd be
like a C+.
lucky if most filmmakers' least interesting films were Hollow Man.
For sure.
Yeah. That's my ranking.
Mine would be number 1, Starship Troopers,
Mhm.
with a bullet, with a bug.
Yeah.
Number 2, RoboCop.
Because I'll say number 1 for me, RoboCop with a bullet, but the bullet comes out of a gun that was stored in my leg.
Okay. Number 2, RoboCop. Number 3, Elle. I think. Number 4, Total Recall. Number 5, Showgirls.
You guys are so similar.
I know.
Yeah, well, it's only
Yeah.
8 movies. Number
Yeah.
6, Basic Instinct. Number 7, Flesh and Blood. Number 8, Hollow Man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure with Total Recall and Elle. Those are close. They're entirely different movies.
Elle's definitely my 3. It's more about Total Recall and Basic Instinct. But I think I just love the fucking effects in Total Recall so much.
Oh, Total Recall rules.
Yeah.
Showgirls rules. Basic Instinct's a movie I more admire than love. I love Showgirls more than I love Basic Instinct.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel, Emily?
I think I
What's your
I don't know.
fave
What's my fave?
of those 8?
Starship.
Well, Starship, I haven't rewatched as much. I had just seen it like a while ago, and then I watched it again most recently and was completely like enamored of it. But I've definitely rewatched RoboCop more, and I feel like RoboCop would probably be at my top. And then probably, and then Yeah, probably. I think what I would do is like Total Recall wouldn't be up there as much for
Sure.
me. I think it would go. And do not. I'm
It's-
totally making this up.
off the
Okay,
dome.
so it would be RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Elle. I think it would be Basic Instinct, and then Showgirls, and then Total Recall. And I haven't seen Hollow Man, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
have
my-
you seen Flesh and Blood?
No, I haven't seen that either. I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah,
the.
boy.
Yeah.
And no, I want to watch it though.
It's on Amazon.
I think it's worth watching.
Yeah.
Ben's number one Verhoeven, of course, is Spanglish. Ben's new favorite movie, because here we are announcing our
that's
next
right.
miniseries.
Yes.
Crack of the bat, and it's gone, and it's up and out of here.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, next up, we are covering the films of James L. Brooks,
That's right.
What?
Old
Yes.
Canyon Jim himself,
Old Canyon Jim.
in a miniseries that is, of course, titled
Don't you say it. Don't you do it.
As Pot as a Cat.
No, it's called podcast news.
Of course, it's called podcast.
And get ready for us to
Everyone
fight about it
agrees.
every episode.
Of course, it's podcast news.
Well,
Come on.
It's podcast news, as has been fully decided upon.
Emily, you say of course, and to that I ask, how do you know?
Okay.
All right, it's podcast news, guys, and yes, get ready for that.
This explains a tweet that you responded to a tweet of mine recently with. So if anybody wants to dig back in the Twitter archives to January 8th or so,
A simpler time.
yeah.
what did I say? I can't remember.
Because I just did a random tweet about how much I liked the band Broadcast.
Oh, yeah, and I
and
was
then
like,
you
yeah,
responded,
Broadcast News.
what about Broadcast News? And now it all makes sense.
Try broadcast news.
Yeah. what about that one? You hear about that one? David, let's address the elephant in the room.
Oh, there's an elephant, Ben. Everyone's been getting in today.
Hey, no bits press
All
minutes,
right,
okay?
Sorry.
This is a little bit of an anniversary.
That's actually that's exciting. That's true.
150th episode right here.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know how for our 100th episode we did Blank Check, the
Yes.
movie, and for our 150th episode we did Elle.
But next week we got kind of like a bonus present.
That is true. As a reward to our listeners, and also just because the scheduling lined up really nicely,
Yes.
we have a special episode next week.
So, we've done these Ben's choices in the past,
Sure.
and we thought we'd hand someone else the check to pick a movie.
Done some fam choices.
Right. We got a man we both are big fans of,
Mm-hmm.
a comedian, an actor, a writer, a movie podcaster in his own right.
Who I dare say I've been listening to for 10 years, probably.
I've been seeing him. I remember going to see him at UCB when I was 13 years old.
Helped invent this GD medium of ours.
This GD medium. The man, how did this get Mater himself?
Yeah. Mater.
Wow. Paul Scheer.
Paul Scheer.
Next week-
Genuinely exciting. Paul Scheer likes our show, wanted to be on it, did an episode with
Right.
us.
And it's his choice, and he picked the movie Running Scared.
That's right.
Starring-
Gregory Hines?
And Billy Crystal.
Cops?
Bill Crystal.
In Chicago?
Yes,
In
sir.
the 80s?
Yes.
There's a chase scene on the L?
And a 15-minute vacation montage.
Billy Crystal's hot in it?
Billy Crystal's
Billy
really
Crystal
hot. Spoilers.
is
That's spoilers.
smoking.
He's smoking hot in that movie, though.
And he's also, I think, probably smoking a cigarette or two of them. But I can't remember. It was the 80s.
But tune in for that, Running Scared, next week.
That's right. Watch Running Scared, which, by the way, completely rules.
Yeah, it rules.
We had a blast.
Yeah, it rocks and rolls.
Then listen to that episode. But
Before we get to our James L. Brooks miniseries. But,
that's right.
But, we're giving you a gift. We're
Okay.
giving you this bonus Paul Scheer episode.
Yes.
You could repay the favor.
Mm-hmm.
150, here's all I want, to commemorate this milestone.
Okay.
I want to be number one within our subsection, which is TV/film.
Yeah.
I'd like to be number one. I'd like to topple all those recap shows for 1 week.
Take that. 8 Westworld podcasts.
Right. Designated
Take that.
Podviver,
a
the show.
weird amount of podcasts about billions.
Right. Come on. What? Give us 1 week where we get to take on big billions.
Does Designated Survivor have a few?
That was the joke I was making.
I know. I was finishing your joke.
Probably everything does, other than the tick.
Yeah, we want to be. Do you want to do a tick podcast?
No, I
Okay,
don't
fine.
want to watch the episodes. I hate my face.
I really enjoyed them actually.
Yeah, they're good. I'm self-conscious.
Mhm.
So, please, do me a kindness.
And me.
And Ben,
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
for 150, we want to be number one.
Mhm.
How can you make that happen? 1, recommend the show to some people.
Sure.
Try
Word of mouth.
try to get one
Ever hear of it?
person into Blank Check this week. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Number 2, and maybe you've heard me mention this before, rate, review, subscribe.
But we always say that, and we appreciate that people have.
And sometimes it just sounds
But,
like
you
lip
know,
service.
I know it's an ask, but all you got to do is go to iTunes, give us a rating.
Yeah.
5 stars preferred.
Yeah. We love 5 stars. And if you give a 0, you're a Sith Lord and you can't listen to the show.
And just write a review. Doesn't have to be long. Doesn't have to be clever. Doesn't have to be complicated.
I'll even put this out there.
Yeah.
It could be a bit.
Ooh.
It could be a
now,
bit.
usually, no bits.
Yeah.
Right.
But to be fair, to spoil something about running scared,
It's got some good bits.
it's also got some Smiths.
We're giving you a Smiths episode next week.
So maybe just
Give us a bit or two. Write a bit on iTunes. You can write literally anything you want. You can rate us anything you want as long as it's 5 stars. And
you could just say I'm pro bits.
So let me
I'm anti bits pro Smith.
Let me set some goals right now. Okay, 150. We want to be number 1 on the chart.
Yeah.
We currently have 214 reviews, 547 ratings. I want to fucking double that.
Wow.
I want 500 reviews.
Whoa.
1,000 ratings.
Damn.
In the words of Chris Gethard, if we're going to lose well.
I agree. I think that would be good, wouldn't it, Ben? I mean, that would be a real bump.
Yeah, it would really help the show.
You know what? Not big enough. I'm taking it back. 1,000 reviews, 5,000 ratings.
All right, shoot for the stars back there. But no, seriously, we want a blank check bump. Hashtag it, blank check bump.
Yeah. Oh, and hashtag too.
Yeah.
Blank check bump on any social media platform. Whether or not it's about blank
We're
check.
gunning for it.
This
And
week,
this is serious. I'm not messing around. We want this.
I want to be number
We got
1.
a big episode coming up. You guys have been supporting us for years.
Yeah.
This is a weird little show we do where we talk about movies for way too long and our producer gets mad at us.
And you guys like it for whatever reason.
And that rules. So let's finally make some noise.
Right. Because this does make a difference.
Let's bring in the noise, bring in the funk.
I'll say this. You doing these things that sound kind of obligatory actually help put our show on the map. It gives us increased visibility on Apple Podcasts,
Right.
These things matter.
Yeah.
So once again, we're gunning for 15,000 reviews and 1 million ratings.
Thank you. But
and we want to be the number 1 podcast on all of Apple Podcasts.
But if we could double, like Griff said, that would be genuinely incredible for the show.
If we could do 500
reviews,
1,000.
1,000 ratings, that would be crazy.
But also if we could be the number 1 podcast episode in history.
Right. If we could beat the ratings of a peak American Idol,
Yes.
like Justin Guarini,
Right.
American
We
Idol.
want
Bo Bice.
Right. We want like a 17 share.
Yeah. That'd be great too. But anyway.
Hashtag bump blank check.
No, blank check bump.
Hashtag blank bump check.
But podcast news coming up. All right.
Yeah,
we're
cool.
done.
As part of the
Elle,
cast.
thank you for joining us. We drag you into the studio all the time, Emily. We love
It's
having
my
you.
second home. Now I finally remembered how to get here without looking up on the map. So hey,
5-timer, and so happy to have you in the Audio Boom family.
Thank you.
Yes.
How great is it being produced by this guy?
It's amazing.
Right? It's a dream.
We've done so many podcasts at this point. Yeah, they've all been produced incredibly.
Yeah.
And it's a dream.
Wow, thanks, guys.
Super crispy.
Good boy.
So thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media, Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. And as always,